Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Good morning and welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always every day, never missed one, by my co-host, John Luke Garofalo and Coop A. Fiasco. Coop, welcome back, my man. Hope you had a great birthday party weekend.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was a heck of a party, dude. Although somebody tried to poison me with Bud Lights this weekend.
Did they succeed?
They actually got there's a drawing of the guy. There's a snapshot. He looks like,
oh my God.
That rapscallion trying to poison you with Bud Lights.
It's crazy.
I heard
dude.
I heard he tried over and over and over again to poison you with Bud Lights. Like, it wasn't just one. He kept tricking you into drinking them.
It was him, dude. It was my friends. It's like, dude, I couldn't get them off. But, I made it. I survived. I think I'm immune to Bud Lights now. So I'm ready to party with the boys again. I'm ready to party with the Hogs. The real with the Hogs. Now it's time for the real party. Now it's time for a real party.
You got to take your hog to that Cardinals Rams game, right, Coop?
Dude, I was sitting at the Cardinals Rams game so hungover because we were there since Thursday, dude. So I'm just sitting there like, sports. I'm like, what are they doing down there?
What is this game?
Every time it gets too loud in the stadium, you're like, shh.
Exactly. Yeah. People next to me like, what do you do for work? I'm like, nothing. Don't talk to me.
Absolutely nothing.
Definitely nothing to do with sports. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But I made it. I made it back. I had a blast. So, what
was your favorite memory?
Oh, so many memories. I'm trying to think, dude. The football game was a blast. Going to Old Town in Scottsdale, if you've never been, absolute blast. But I don't know. I spent more time in the pool than I did in my own bed this weekend. That's the kind of weekend I had. So good time.
That's a good weekend. Weekend.
That's a pruny weekend, but in the best.
It's a very pruny weekend.
Yeah. Very pruny weekend. But if you have enough Bud Lights, dude, you don't get
no prune can stop you.
You don't really think about being pruny or the cuts on your feet. Like that's the kind of
a couple wrinkles ain't gonna stop you.
That's right, dude.
We got some people in the chat ready for this morning show. Craig in here with the Grimace Gang, and I'm guessing that's the butt pun emoji right there. That's the Trent Sherfield emoji is the peach now. We got Tommy in here. Yo, time for the show. Welcome back, Coop. Maria in here, Coop, and the Hogs. And Tommy has another concern, not just pruning, but depending on the weather down there. Did you get some shrinkage in that pool, Coop?
Tommy, I don't really like to talk about it, especially on the radio and especially at 7 a.m. But I think you know the answer. I think you know the answer to that, my friend.
Especially not 7 a.m.
I think you know the answer to that, dude. There's probably a little too much ween talk on this show as it is, Tommy. But I appreciate. Tommy, I appreciate you asking.
Appreciate you looking out for the Hogs up here, Tommy.
A little hog talk.
It's really important.
A little hog talk.
Oh man,
keeping us true,
guys. As awful as the segue of this is, we're going to go straight from hog talk into some of this news that we have to cover, and it's not all happy news today. New England Patriots quarterback Mac Jones will likely miss multiple games with a severe high ankle sprain. Sources from ESPN are saying he and the Patriots are still discussing his options and the best way to proceed, but he suffered the sprain in the 37-26 home loss to the Baltimore Ravens, and they deflected questions about a timetable for recovery whenever they were asked about it yesterday. But Mac Jones has looked good so far. This means it's next man up there in New England. Coop, you're a New England fan. You're probably a little bit more familiar with the situation there. What does this mean for the New England Patriots?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that I'm a little concerned about the reports because when you said discussing the options, what I've actually heard is that there's disagreement about the options, that Mac Jones wants a second opinion. His timeline from his side is a bit longer than what the team believes. The team doesn't want it seems like Mac Jones thinks he should go on the 4-game IR, with a 6 to 8 week timeline, and the team is like, no. Like, you're coming back as soon as possible. So that's always a little concerning to me when there's disagreement from the organization. That's my main concern. I'm not too worried about, I don't think this team was winning anything substantial, and I don't think Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zapp could take over the job, but it's the disagreement there that I don't like. You know what I mean? Like, especially for it to come out to see the day of light. Usually they keep that pretty locked up over there. So that's what I'm concerned about. I don't know. From a football standpoint.
You guys think it's just like frustration? Just Mac Jones frustrated, he wants to play?
No, it's the other way. It's the other way.
Or doesn't want to play.
They want it. Well, not that he doesn't want to play. I think that he's thinking about his long-term career, and they're thinking like the way the Patriots always do, which is like, unless you can't play, then you are playing.
Right.
Yeah, that is definitely concerning, Coop. Usually whenever I hear discussing options, my mind kind of goes the other way. But so that's great insight right there. It kind of goes to, are they discussing a surgery that would be season ending, or letting this player play through the injury and maybe doing it in the offseason? But it doesn't sound like that's necessarily the case here, right? That's not why they're discussing options.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little concerning.
I mean, as far as backup situations go, though, Brian Hoyer is about as safe of a backup quarterback as you can plug in there in the league. He should be fine. It's not going to be exciting for your pass catching options, but it's not going to destroy the value of that offense either. It'll be okay.
I don't think it's going to change very much, right? Like, Mac Jones wasn't late. He wasn't crushing, It's like, just put in a guy that does the same thing, hands it off, runs a couple play actions. There you go.
Yeah. Yesterday, we saw Sterling Shepard go down with a freak injury in that game. Initial tests are revealing that it's a serious knee injury to New York Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard. It was a non-contact injury that happened in the final minutes of that loss to Dallas. A final diagnosis will come this morning after Shepard undergoes more tests, but it's looking like his season's probably over after he was putting together a nice little stretch of games there. But that's one of those ones you just hate to watch. God, like that. Like, poor dude.
It just keeps the hits just keep coming for him, which is just sad to see, because this is like on the back of like two other injuries, right? He came back from one, got injured again, and then came back again, and then got injured again. This is just, it's nonstop for him, man. That's got to be really frustrating.
And that it's even crazier because it's like, a lot of people say, oh, well, he might maybe rush back and he hurt his knee again. It wasn't even his knee last time. The most recent time was Achilles. Now it's his knee. It's like, geez. Just brutal.
Yeah,
pretty freaking brutal. But best wishes to Sterling Shepard. If his season is done, hopefully it's something he can recover from and come back next year and build off of the start to this season. Because it was a pretty hot start, a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I was excited to see where the rest of his season went. We got some people in the chat over here. Fantasy Nav, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Eric.
Albert, good morning, glad to have you.
Good morning,
here.
Albert.
And Craig in here with some insight for us, something he was thinking about. He said, so I was thinking about this. If you change the first C in Coop's Twitter handle to a P, you get Simon's biography title, Poop, a Fiasco.
that
is so good.
That is poetry.
Poetry. You gotta change your Twitter handle to Poop a Fiasco.
Craig, I don't know what you're doing dropping this kind of joke at 6:09 a.m. my time, but top tier.
I think it's 6:09 his time too.
You have just set the bar for the day, and I don't think it's getting passed.
How did we never think of that? For all the poop talk we do,
I've never once said Poop quite a bit. Fiasco out loud. Like
me neither.
And it rhymes. And what was I doing?
And we never will again.
Poop, a Fiasco. Coop's like, God dang it.
Sounds like
come on, Craig.
I don't think it might be like a play or something. You know what I mean? Or like, what has titles like that? I guess a biography.
Poop a Fiasco.
It's like it would be the subtitle on my 1 hour special on Lifetime chronicling my life. It would be Poop, a Fiasco, and then you could go watch my Lifetime documentary afterwards. Trevor Lawrence was quoted yesterday saying, obviously, you can't deny that the Jaguars are a really good team. Coop?
Obviously.
Wow. Obviously.
You agree with Trevor here? You agree? He said, obviously, you can't deny the Jaguars are a really good team.
I kind of do. I kind of do agree. And it's crazy that, I think the big one, because I know Trevor Lawrence, we always kind of knew that this is capable of this. We've seen him in college. He was the number 1 overall pick, but a lot of people made Christian Kirk jokes this offseason. Did they not, about the money he got paid? And Christian Kirk is playing.
I called him the $20 million man all offseason. And it turns out I just needed to call him that, but not being an asshole.
Yeah, you were just commenting on his contract.
Just commenting on how rich he is, and now you can also add how cool he is and good at football he is, right? So exactly. So I'm loving it from a fantasy perspective. I'm going out in leagues where I lost. Like I got a league where I lost Dak Prescott and I had Carson Wentz, and I'm going to drop some money on Trevor Lawrence today. That's my plan. So, and I suggest people you do the same because it looks like this team is good, huh?
I'm just having trouble adjusting to some of the teams that are good now. Know what I mean? Like the Lions, the Jaguars, the Dolphins. Like it's a lot to process in a season, isn't it? Like that these are good teams now. Like the Bears at least are keeping you comfy. They're like, don't worry, we're still
we are what you thought we were. We're exactly
God.
what you expect. I think the Jaguars have gotten a little bit lucky so far. Their defense has been way better than I think we all expected. Their offense looks like it's taking a step up, which is what we hoped. So I think they'll come back down to earth a little bit. They've gotten a little lucky in these first 3 games, but they're much better than we thought, and I think they're closer to middle of the pack than they are to the bottom.
As of this moment, Christian Kirk is wide receiver 6, and James Robinson's running back 3.
Just call it. Let's call it the season. Let's just end it there.
And Trevor Lawrence top 10 QB.
Love it. Guys, I thought Trevor Lawrence was bad. What happened?
Maybe Urban Meyer might have been bad.
Oh,
that can't be right.
Crazy.
I just before we move on from the Jaguars here, is this going to happen again with James Robinson? Like is it going to happen again where everyone just
tears his Achilles?
No, that's don't be an asshole, Jay.
Please mute him.
Listen,
I meant where he finishes as thank you, Keith. JL's been muted. Where he finishes as a top 10 running back, like where we get a top 10 running back season from James Robinson. Like, are we going to be at what week do we stop saying I'm sure ETN will get more involved? Like when do we not say that anymore? Week 5, week 6, week 10, or are we just going to be the idiots all season who are like, yeah, well, I'm sure Travis Etienne will take on a bigger role in this offense.
I think that depends entirely on when JL stops being super stubborn about it. Because I'm just sitting here being like, you know what, JL? I guess. But at a certain point, we gotta just roll with James Robinson here. Are you still muted, JL?
Tommy in here saying
nobody knows.
Success is all because of Evan Ingram. Coop, yeah, we've been talking about the Jaguars, and you haven't even brought him up once.
Well, that's because he got absolutely shut down by Derwin James this weekend. Who isn't?
He had a touchdown that got taken away.
Dude, and the thing is, when you look at that in slow motion, there are arguments. He and T. Higgins, there were some arguments that those should have been called touchdowns, but they weren't.
T. Higgins won.
Yeah. This is how crazy the tight end landscape is. If you just called that play a touchdown, we move up. Let's see. Evan Ingram goes from tight end 14 up to tight end 8. That's how big of a that's how tight it is and how ridiculous the position is. I mean, the tight end 3 is Tyler Conklin. He's on waivers in 80% of leagues. That's what's going on at tight end right now. So it's kind of a mess. We're doing our best to navigate it.
Yeah, it's really great watching all of that hard work you did during the offseason pay off through these first few weeks.
Well, dude, that's how it goes.
Fantasy.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about tight end though is that you can ride the rest of your team down the stretch, and the guys that end up at the end of the day being the ones that pan out for you are the ones that have the usage early on, not necessarily fantasy points. If you look at 2020, the best example, Logan Thomas, through 6 weeks. He was tight end 26, but when you look at it, he was playing 90 to 100% of the snaps. He was lining. Had run the most routes from the slot of any tight end in the league, and I was like, this guy's in a position to succeed. He's just not capitalizing on these targets. And then I think the starting QB got hurt, and it was Taylor Heineke that came in, and he just kind of started crushing. And then he ended up being tight end 4, right? Tight end 26 through 6 weeks, tight end 4 on the season, which means during that span, towards the end, I think he was tight end 3. He was very close to being tight end 2. So we're going to keep an eye on the usage, which is the most important thing. The underlying stats, we're not going to fall for these Tyler Conklin traps, and we're going to win some leagues.
And eventually it'll work out. We promise. Just every week, you might get a little more nervous as it doesn't start working, but it'll get there. I'm with you, Coop. Follow the numbers, stick to the process. Tommy down here saying both got robbed. T. Higgins and Evan Ingram robbed of those touchdowns. I agree a little bit, Tommy. I think they both times I watched the replays, I was like, those were both touchdowns.
So I was being like, I need a clarification on this because I'm confused. The rule now, and this is a new-ish rule, is that if your heels come down, even if you get both toes in, if your heels come down out of bounds, that's technically the correct call. That's what I was hearing on that T. Higgins call. That even if you get 2 toes in, if your heels come down, it's not a touchdown.
See, that doesn't make sense to me though. Like I just like that doesn't make sense. Like if you can get both toes down inbounds with control of the ball, it seems like that should count as a touchdown.
100%.
What would that rule be addressing? Like usually the rule change happens because of something. Like what was that Saints right going into the playoffs? Saints had that like pass interference review call.
It could be like a clarity thing, JL, like a clarification. Like maybe that's how the rule was intended to work, but it was written like both feet inbounds, but then people were taking it as part of a foot inbounds, like a gap between. I don't know why they would make that change, but you're right. Like we see rule changes follow events or things that lead them, either safety events or like gameplay events. But yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah. So this is how crazy it is. According to the rules, if T. Higgins' toes had hit the ground and then he had like somehow jumped and then landed out of bounds, it would have been a touchdown. If his heels had hit and then his toes hit, it would have been a touchdown. But because his toes hit and then his heels hit, that's technically the rule. So what you're saying, Simon, I think what's going to happen is that this is going to be the T. Higgins rule, where it gets changed because of this thing. Like we're going to look back on it. This will
be the event.
This will be the event right here where everyone says, why isn't that a touchdown?
Here we are.
This is it. Simon, you just said it in so many words, but in reverse. Congratulations.
Remember this moment.
You
are part of rulebook history right now. This exact moment, guys.
When we predicted it.
The T. Higgins Simon poop fiasco rule. That's good. It's all coming together
also
in the books. JL here as well.
It's the hey, I'm here, guys rule.
Yeah. Imagine the ref comes out. The ref comes out after he's like reviewing the play, and he's like, based on the T. Higgins Simon poop fiasco, JL is also here rule. Touchdown.
Touchdown. And we'll be like, yeah, that's awesome.
Just like, I am here. I was here.
They included me this time.
Tommy down, you're saying college catch versus pro catch, so different. Why? I love the way that's worded. Just why? I don't know, Tommy, but it is confusing. Like I was watching the Clemson game with my girlfriend this weekend, and like she's getting it, like understanding it. Like she's been watching more football with me, like picking up on all the rules. It was never something she cared about, but she's trying to care about it because I care about it. And then we go and watch college football, and all of a sudden half the rules are different, especially when it comes to what is a catch and what isn't. It's frustrating. It surprises me that we don't see more rookies kind of mess up regularly with the rules on what's a catch and what's not on the sideline, like just getting that 1 foot in. But it's definitely confusing as a viewer. I can't even imagine that transition as a player having to get in there to do it. We had some more news. This was not great, but it could have been worse. Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett involved in a 1-car accident. Reports are coming out that he is okay, though it looked like a pretty serious accident. He crashed his 2021 Porsche after practice at around 3 p.m. Vehicle went off the side of the road and flipped over before coming to a rest. There's no Highway Patrol said that impairment by drugs or alcohol was not suspected at all. Garrett and the woman in the car were wearing seatbelts, and reports coming out are positive. So we're thinking about Myles Garrett. Hopefully everything's good there. That's some scary stuff, though, to flip a vehicle. I'm glad that the next news was that he's okay.
I think I saw on NBC Sports Edge that he was swerving to avoid an animal. which is, it's definitely a scary situation. I'm glad that they're all right.
Yeah, that's
I
terrifying.
hope the animal's all right as well.
And I hope the animal's all right too.
Secondarily, thirdarily, there was a third person in the car. After Myles Garrett, after the passenger, then the animal.
Hope everyone.
You don't got to rank them. You just hope they're all right.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to rank the first two.
Let's break this down by which one is the most important.
In other news, quickly to next news.
To next news.
In other news.
You know that wasn't my intention.
No,
I was basically saying I'm caring about the people and then the animal after that. And Craig's point down here says, pro tip, it is safer usually to just hit the animal.
It is.
That is true. It is scary though, and it is sad. And you can't help your instant reactions whenever you see something in the road. You're going to react that way. Slightly happier news here, though. Everyone coming out healthy in that one is pretty happy news. Cooper Rush, after last night, is the first undrafted quarterback to win each of his first 3 NFL starts and throw for 750-plus yards over those starts since Kurt Warner in 1999 with the Rams. Warner went on to win NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP that season via NFL research. JL, you ready for the Cooper Rush NFL MVP season?
Oh, yes, I am. Let's go, Cooper. The best football name ever, Cooper Rush.
It's just an amazing name. Great first name, great last name. Just pretty strong across the board. Wait, Simon, do you think Cooper Rush is a better football name than Colt McCoy?
No, absolutely not. No, God. I mean, Cooper Rush is a top-tier football name. Don't get me wrong, but Colt McCoy, like that dude was born to sling the ball. Like that's just what his name says.
There's no way I could decide. They're just gonna have to fight to the death. That's the only way that this can be decided.
I think that's maybe we should do a bracket. Maybe we got to do a bracket at some point of the best.
Just those two.
The strongest. I'm not even sure the same name would win each time though.
I know.
Like
well, we have
this time I like Cooper Rush.
Yeah. And to immediately throw a bucket of water onto Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott eyeing potential Week 5 return. So Week 3 just happened. One more week off. We could potentially see Dak Prescott after next week. And Cooper Rush coming in and winning games for the Cowboys while Dak Prescott is out is going to set them up pretty nicely down the stretch of this season if Dak comes back and plays like we expect him to.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to get a nice backup in there behind Cooper Rush if possible.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, we're going to break down a little bit more about this Monday night football game coming up shortly. And then we'll talk some waiver wire for you in our weekly waiver wire bracket. And Coop and JL, our friend, Vinny Iyer is coming back on a little bit later today. We just love some Vinny over here. We'll play some hypothetically, and then it's a day of killer guests. D.O. Ledbetter's coming on, beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons, a little bit later in the show as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
You can't be happy if you're a fan of Denver right now. I know they're 2-1. They look horrendous, man.
Well, how about this player? I almost put him in, and then last second took him out, figured I'd give him another week. What about Javonte Williams? Would he be a trend down type of player at this point? He's still getting the carries. He's running all right. He's just not scoring. That's the problem. And the big thing is when you look at his production from a total basis, 11 passes week 1? It was a lot.
I think you stay the course with him. I know, again, people are so frustrated. Guys, why are you surprised, man? We all know Javonte Williams is the best player in that backfield. It's clear. But people who play fantasy need to understand and I said this before the year, there are certain players that coaches love. Melvin Gordon is one of those players. Is he as dynamic, explosive? No. But he does a lot of the little things that coaches love. Those guys are going to get their touches. You have to understand that. So should Javonte Williams be the main back? Yeah. And we've started to see it shift a little bit. I know you're frustrated because Gordon got the touchdown, but I don't know why you're surprised by this. They told you this before the year. It was more like 50-50 last year. It's not now. You can't sit here and complain about it. Like, you act like this came out of nowhere. I can't believe Melvin Gordon is playing snaps.
You're not talking about me, are you?
No. Anyone who is sitting there and is just stunned that Javonte Williams is not getting, like, all these snaps. Now, could it get better as the season goes along and they start to go, you know what? Javante's more explosive. We need him on the field now. I mean, they're 2-1, okay? So that's the problem with some of these teams that win games. They think, oh, we won, so everything is good. But let's look at the snaps. So Javonte Williams played 33. Melvin Gordon played 28. The biggest problem is Mike Boone played 14. That I don't get. Javonte Williams and Gordon each ran 13 routes. Boone, 11. 5 targets for Williams, 6 for Melvin Gordon. Javonte had 15 carries, Gordon 12. Javonte Williams had 20 looks. So he had 15 carries, 5 targets, and he caught 3 passes. So he had 18 touches. You're going to complain about a running back getting 18 touches? Come on, man. He's better than Melvin Gordon, no doubt. But Javante's not getting 35 touches. They had the ball a lot last night. Does it suck that they took him out near the goal line? Absolutely.
Straight eye formation. They hand it up to Gordon, running left. Gordon into the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
This is not anything shocking here.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
And the Dallas Cowboys are going to go on the road, and Cooper Rush is going to join Roger Staubach and Jason Garrett as the only Cowboy quarterbacks in history to win their first 3 starts.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And we had a game last night. The Cowboys defeating the undefeated New York Giants, handing them their first loss of the season, 23-16 in this game. And we just talked a little bit about Cooper Rush, and that's where I wanted to start. Those stats say that he looked good, but just out on the field, he looks in control of that offense. Like, he looks pretty good, and they kept talking about it on the Manning cast last night, but you could see it out on the field. He's got the full playbook at his disposal out there. Like, that is a player that Kellen Moore is trusting in that offense, and he's calling audibles at the line. He's killing plays. Like Cooper Rush does not seem limited on that field whenever it comes to like the plays they're calling. They're running the same exact offense.
Right. And there a huge step is that a lot of times these backup quarterbacks come in, they have some plays that, you know, with some of the other backup wide receivers that they run in practice that work. But then after a while, the cat's out of the bag with that, right? Like Cooper Rush to Noah Brown was working. And I always worry that, like, okay, they used up their tricks and now they're in trouble. Now he's got the chemistry with CeeDee Lamb. If he can get it going with Michael Gallup, I mean, it just, now we're going to see Dak come back. So it kind of is, you know, Cooper Rush experiment might be over, but he's picking it up, man. He might have earned himself a gig, right? I mean, what do you think, JL? Cooper Rush, there's a handful of teams that he could potentially, if you're the Bears, you're probably looking at Cooper Rush like, get some Cooper Rush on
your
the
chops. Yeah, a little bit of, wow, we both went the food route. I like that.
Sloppily, yeah. I mean,
I guess Cooper Rush is just a snack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one, Jay.
I think this game being in prime time was great for Cooper Rush, right? Because like what you said, Coop, like the league is watching, right? They watch football too. So yeah, they're going to see this and they're going to be like, yeah, this is, you know, Cooper looks great. The beginning of that game was rough. It was a slow start, but man, like CeeDee Lamb, dude, amazing. So good.
You're telling me if this game was at 1:00, we wouldn't all be sitting there like, dude, did you see the Cowboys?
Yeah, did you see Cooper Rush?
6-3 at halftime. Yeah. What a game, you know? Yeah. So I think you're at the prime time, JL. I think you're right. We might be drinking a little bit of like the prime time Kool-Aid, but still awesome.
I think what Cooper Rush is doing is he is, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, he's out there absolutely killing it, but he is securing his career in the NFL as like a safe backup quarterback, like one that teams can trust. And that's tough, right? But you see these guys that continuously get the backup roles, the Case Keenums, the Brian Hoyers, right? Like over and over again, Foles, like they keep getting brought to teams because teams see if their quarterback goes down, maybe Cooper Rush isn't going to come in and just light up the league, but he can win you a couple games while your starter's gone.
And who knows? Get a little crazy, he might just win a Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah, maybe he goes the Kurt Warner route here. And
we heard he was Kurt Warner.
Or the Nick Foles route.
And the thing a lot of times with these guys that they're super, like if Cooper Rush is the guy we think he is, where if you go to a couple teams and learn some different offenses, some playbooks, those guys are super valuable because they can mimic the other team's playbooks too, which is huge in practice. That was one of the big reasons that teams were a little hesitant to bring in Colin Kaepernick because, like, you know, it's hard to get a good look at the defense when you got this like guy that's not like anybody else, right? Like he's this like bow-legged gunslinger, and it's hard for him to go out and mimic Matt Ryan or something. So these backup quarterbacks are more valuable than a lot of people think.
Absolutely. And Cooper Rush killing it so far, but I am excited to see this team with Dak back whenever Dak does come back. Week 5, hopefully that'll be nice to see him out on the field.
He did tell NFL Network's Jane Slater that Week 5 against the Rams is a game that he could possibly start. I see here on NBC Sports Edge.
Yeah, that is sooner than I expected. I thought Jerry Jones was just being Jerry Jones when he said maybe 4 weeks. You know what I mean? Like I just thought he was Jerry Jones in us for sure by saying that. I thought it was going to be closer to that 8-week mark, but man, maybe he wasn't. Maybe Jerry knows something that we didn't know. But yeah, I think I still, for every thing that comes out of his mouth that establishes trust, I feel like there's 30 things that come out of his mouth that just completely take away the credibility that I give him for saying something accurate.
Yeah.
Probably the history of sweeping insane incidents under the rug completely. That might be what it is, dude. Like Michael Irving getting away with stabbing a dude with scissors. It's like maybe I think it's stuff like that yeah. Some of the mistakes he made. I mean, I don't know. Was he right to fire Tom Landry? Maybe not, but it's Jerry Jones.
It's Jerry Jones. I see Tim in here saying Cooper Rush, more like Cooper. Wow, the NFC East is bad except for the Eagles. Rush. I mean, you're not wrong, Tim, but
Tim got so mean as soon as the Dolphins started doing well. Tim just instantly went mean. I don't know what happened. Change, bro.
Instantly mean over there. CeeDee Lamb, JL, you mentioned him. He had a good game, 12 targets, which is similar to the volume he's gotten in the previous 2 games, 11 targets the first 2 weeks in each game. But he turned it into a little bit more this week, 8 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. I know people that drafted him as like a top 5 wide receiver have maybe been a little bit disappointed so far. You guys still think that was worth the draft price, that draft capital? Is CeeDee Lamb going to have more games like this down the stretch?
Yeah, I hope so. They targeted him a ton. He looked fantastic. He was, man, that one-handed catch, incredible. Just absolutely incredible.
It was like unnecessarily one-handed. I was like, you
Yeah.
probably could have got another hand up there, but
Yeah. He was
who
just like,
cares,
nah, I got
right?
this.
Yeah, he's like, no problem. This is how easy it is for me, But he
Yeah.
probably could have just caught it with 2 hands. But hey, it looked cooler. It looked cooler that way.
It makes me think of like a game me and my neighbors would play as a kid where we would call it just world's most insane catches. And instead of like throwing the ball well to each other, we would like purposefully really throw the ball horribly and try to make just absolute, like, if you can do one hand, you got to do one hand. Like, you got to go for it. I think sometimes these players are out there and they're like, oh, this is a highlight. Like, check this out. Watch what I can do.
Absolutely.
But if you can do it, it's like the between the leg shot in tennis, right? Like, you don't got to do it, but sometimes you got to do it.
Just got to go for it.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just got to go for
Sometimes
it.
you got to flex on.
Daniel Jones on the other side of the ball did not look very good whenever we're talking about a tale of 2 quarterbacks, but also, man, like, I'm not a Daniel Jones supporter or truther, or like, if I had to guess, is he a starting caliber NFL quarterback today? I would probably say no, but I don't think we can make that judgment based on last night. He was under pressure constantly the entire game. Dude couldn't breathe.
Sacked 5 times.
No, that dude stinks.
That's crazy.
Guess what, Simon? We can make judgment on that game. We can make judgment on the game before. We can make judgment based on the last 2 seasons where he has more turnovers than touchdowns. Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. Everybody gets one quarterback that they think is just bad. If you listen to me and John and Pemba on the Sundays, that's Baker Mayfield for him. It's been well established. JL does not like Kirk Cousins on the show. Daniel Jones, dude, I don't think that's a good player. I don't think he's a good quarterback. He seems like he might be a good dude. I don't know him personally, but in this world, you have to step up and make plays. This guy has all the weapons he needs. He has Saquon Barkley. They went out and got him. Kenny Golladay looks terrible, but I've seen Kenny Golladay play well with the guy that won the Super Bowl last year. It can't all be Kenny Golladay. It can't all be Evan Engram. It can't, like, all the excuses they've made. It's time to stop. No more Daniel Jones. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's time to move on. And you know what? Maybe he'll go somewhere else and have a new career. Maybe he'll be one of those Cooper Rush type career backup type dudes, but I think the experiment's over. So
he's good. The confusing thing about Daniel Jones is he has like these abilities that go beyond a backup, but he's just not able to put it all together. Like I've never been able to see where I'm like, wow, like he is really in control of this. And it's more so like little incidents where I'm like, wow, that was an incredible throw.
No.
Or that was an incredible run.
Every 3 games, he has 60 yards rushing, and that confuses fantasy gamers. That's what's happening here, dude. This guy, man, he's not it, dude. It's not it.
Man, I wanna pick a quarterback that I hate now, and I'm going through the list, and I like
You got it. You got to pick one. Pick one.
Okay, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And I'll let
At the
you
end of the
guys know
show,
by tomorrow
at the end of the
over
show,
there.
I want you to develop a deep-seated hatred for a quarterback in this league.
I'm kind of thinking I want to pick one that like maybe doesn't have many haters, like that's a little bit lower on the totem pole, but like I don't know, it might be a nice little boost for them to know that there's one guy out there that really hates them. Like they're doing something right if they've got that one hater now.
They don't have enough haters. Everyone likes them. Pick like Geno Smith. Pick like
No, I can't hate
pick like Teddy Bridgewater, dude. Pick Teddy Bridgewater, dude. Someone that everyone loves. Pick someone that everyone loves. Yeah, everyone universally loves. Pick like Tyrod Taylor, just for no reason, right?
Oh, Craig wants to know, should Daniel Jones switch to running back? Yeah, absolutely. He should absolutely switch to running back. No, I've seen that dude fall over the goal line, fall while running straight down the field. I'm not sure running back is his calling either in this league. Maybe backup quarterback that constantly just occasionally gets a starting job, but it doesn't work out for the next like 4 or 5 years. I think that's the perfect role for Daniel Jones in this game.
Make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah. Coop, you mentioned at halftime this game was 6-3, and I thought we were going to just keep on getting more of that in the second half, but it was a real snoozer in the first half. I thought it was hilarious that the Manicast had McAfee on and they just kept talking about punts over and over and over again. Like this is the punter's dream right now, to just be watching this game.
Man, Jay in the chat confused the heck out of me. He said, "See ya, Danny. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you." And I thought that he was talking about someone else in the chat. I'm like, who is Danny? And then I realized we're talking about Daniel Jones. Duh.
Daniel Jones. As far as the offense for the New York Giants, there wasn't much that they were able to get going, but they got Saquon going a little bit. 14 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. This is the Saquon you were hoping for whenever you drafted, right? I mean, maybe it's not that like number one overall, but not much more you can ask for from him. Added 4 receptions for 45 yards as well. It's Saquon.
Vintage Saquon.
I think that's what you were hoping for. I mean, because we've seen it. He can't be the RB1 even if his quarterback sucks. And that's why I couldn't possibly take guys like Travis Kelce personally at their ADP, even though it's a good pick. Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews at least are good picks, and Kyle Pitts not so much so far. But like, I couldn't really take those guys at their ADP because I can't draft them over guys that could be the number 1 overall flex player. And the list went all the way down to Saquon Barkley and passed for me. So anyone that took Saquon Barkley, great job.
I like where did it go? Oh, 2-3 in here saying JL is laughing at everyone who did not draft Saquon. Facts. Yeah, this is great. I'm glad to see Saquon back. I'm glad to see him healthy because he's a great player and he just seems like a great dude. So I'm happy to see him back on the field looking like he did. Albert asked, what do you guys think about the Cowboys backfield going forward?
Yeah, there's a little bit more ambiguity on that side. Ambiguity. Man, maybe that word just doesn't work before 9 a.m. because I cannot figure out ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
And now for a quick break.
Let's just watch Simon have like an existential crisis over the word ambiguity at 9 a.m. There's a little bit more.
You have to say it right once. You have to say it right once before we move on.
The backfield for the Cowboys is a bit more unclear than the backfield for the Giants is with Saquon
No
Barkley.
synonyms.
There's Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott both seeing heavy usage in this game. Tony Pollard with 13 carries, 105 yards. Zeke had 15 carries for 73 yards, but he got the touchdown over there. Zeke, 1 target, 1 reception. Neither one of them really involved in that receiving game. But what do I think about the Cowboys backfield going forward? This is probably what you're going to see. Like this game, I feel like Tony Pollard's going to be involved, might cap Zeke's upside a little bit, but Zeke's still the main back for me in this offense. And something that they were mentioning during the game that I think is important to remember is, especially on like those, Zeke's going to be on the field more because they like him better as a blocker, right? Zeke is the better blocker of the two, so Zeke's going to be on the field in all situations where the running back needs to help out with blocking. So I still like Zeke as the lead back, but these are both weekly starts. They're both weekly starts.
I was watching the game last night and I was thinking, I've been on the Zeke over Pollard side up until now, and just watching him play, I'm like, I got to reevaluate whether Zeke has lost a step because he just didn't look the same. Tony Pollard looked fantastic. He averaged 8.1 yards an attempt compared to Zeke's 4.9. I'm not ready to make that distinction yet. And I agree with you, Simon, like the usage, and the Cowboys want to use Zeke more, which makes sense because they paid him a lot of money. So I think they're going to feed him regardless. But Tony Pollard looked really good when he was running yesterday.
Yep. I've been a Zeke truther for a long time here. And I'm not going to fall for the same trap that I fell for in the past in this same situation with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler, where, I mean, for a long time, it worked the same way, where Melvin Gordon was just, he got the high leverage pass plays and he got the goal line work. So he was the better option. But we kept watching Eckler and we're like, wow, this guy can ball. And then as his role slowly grew, Melvin kind of faded away. And then once Eckler finally did get the full job, which it was pretty late in his career that he got, or age-wise, that he got the full gig, he was a star. So in Dynasty, could be a little harder now, but Tony Pollard is a guy that you could potentially acquire, man. So Tony Pollard definitely looking awesome. Zeke still going to have a role in this league, even if he, they find some way to move on. The real crazy question is, Tony Pollard is the one that's the unrestricted free agent next year, and Zeke's under contract. They can get out of that contract eating a lot of dead cap, but it's like, think about what you have to do to make that happen. The Cowboys are going to have to eat that Zeke money and pay Tony Pollard a bunch of money. That's pretty expensive to have Tony Pollard just as your premier back. Do you think that's even possible? Do you think it's possible, Simon?
That's interesting.
I'll pull the numbers now and we'll take a look at what they would need to be. Because, I mean, we've got to pay. You look at what a guy like Chase Edmonds got doing what I consider to be less or even about the same as Tony Pollard. He got pretty good money, right? So, it could be pretty expensive situation going on over there.
Yeah, no, that adds some complication to it, right? Because you think the answer is you get cheaper or you move on from that back to the new one, but it could be a way more expensive option. Like with the dead cap hit, they could end up spending more next year on Pollard.
Got the numbers right here to cut, and this is cut or trade. The money is pretty much locked in. It looks like you can't trade him and get out from the dead cap. It's going to be, no matter what, it's going to be 11.8 million dead cap to move on from Zeke Elliott. So think about that. Chase Edmonds got like what, 2 years, 12 million or 14 million. So it's like, even if you were able to negotiate a contract for Pollard that looked like a Chase Edmonds type deal, you're going to have 11.8 going to Zeke, and then you have to give another, 12, 14 mil, over at least 2 year span to Tony Pollard. It's like, that's an expensive running back situation.
It seems like a mistake for them not to re-sign Pollard. Like, that seems like a mistake for this team, but it also seems incredibly difficult given the way these contracts are structured. I'm not sure how that one plays out.
Maybe they draft somebody. Maybe they draft a running back. The thing about running backs in the NFL is they're just not valued as much as we think in fantasy. So I could see them maybe trying to target somebody in the draft. The Cowboys are a pretty decent team when you look at like just balance. Like, they just feel like a very balanced team. So I could see them going running back in the draft.
Pollard is 25 years old. I see Work and Grind asking. He is 25 years old.
Yeah. He's not that much younger than Zeke, to be honest. Like, Zeke
no.
just turned 26 this summer, or maybe just turned 27 this summer. But he just turned 27 this summer. But yeah, the thing is, you have to think about the public sentiment too, Jail. Because if it was me, I would keep Zeke and just try and draft another guy. Because you're eating the day, you spend the money already, right? But think about the public sentiment. Right. If Tony Pollard goes somewhere else and he balls out, and then the fans are sitting here like, why did we keep Zeke and let Pollard leave? Like,
That's a good point.
Of any owner who cares about that stuff, Jerry Jones is definitely one of them, or maybe the one that cares the most, right?
Yeah. I think because all the love he's gotten over his career too, like that just makes it. It's just like made him into Like now he feeds off of it. It seems.
Right.
I'm totally
Yeah.
just making up this like villain narrative for
Oh,
Jerry
but
Jones.
that is Jerry Jones, though. It's like he clearly cares more about the on-field stuff. He's more involved than a lot of owners. Some owners, like, we don't even know
Yeah.
their names, and they're just like, they're not visible. They're up in some box somewhere. They're, then they fly back to Microsoft headquarters after, and they don't care. It's like Jerry Jones on the radio giving start-sit advice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's like for real though. He's like comes out and he's like trying to guess when Michael Gallup's gonna be back in May. It's like you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, Jerry.
Keith, please book Jerry Jones for our show.
Please,
Oh my
you'll
God.
get- come on.
Can
dude.
we, if he does come on, can we do it 100% in earnest? Like, because I think he'll drive the chaos of it. Know what I mean? Like, this is just one goes like, I just want 100% in earnest, just a conversation with Jerry Jones. And it will, like, I feel like an earnest conversation with him is more chaotic than a non-earnest conversation with anybody else in the world.
Come on, say whatever you want, Jerry. He'd love
Hal
that.
saying all hogs out for Jerry. Yeah, hogs out for
Oh,
Jerry. Hit that fun button for Jerry Jones.
That was a good one, Jam. That was a nice one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coop, I see my mom in the chat saying Coop is back. She's excited to see your face on the screen this
So
morning.
glad to have you back, Coop.
And Meat Mansion in here saying the mansion has
Meat.
arrived. Glad to see the
Yeah.
mansion
Close
in
the
here.
doors. Party's
Meat
about to start.
Man. Let's go, baby.
I see your questions in the chat. We are going to be answering those coming up real shortly and talking some waiver wire for this week in our waiver wire bracket. Vinny Iyer of Sporting News is joining the show a little bit later. And then we're doing a little bit of one of my favorite games, Hypothetically, where we break down some crazy hypothetical situations. And then Dio Ledbetter, beat writer for the Falcons at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, is joining the show a little bit later today as well. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
It's Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media Network. Corey, I pulled this down. Like, hearing Ravel got me all like, oh man, collectibles. Check this out. Look at that.
That's like what? Pro Stars.
That's Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky.
Ooh.
It's an official like a still from the cartoon.
Oh, that's pretty dope. I like that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, on eBay. It was like $45. It's authenticated. I got the authentication right here.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I thought it was one of my, I really like started going to Comic-Cons and they had all these cartoon animation cells, they're called.
Yeah, I never been to a
Search
Comic Con before. I like to, sleep on Saturday mornings.
oh.
No, I'm not dissing the Comic Con crew. I'm not dissing them, Nando. I'm just saying, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just.
I mean,
saying,
you could go on a Thursday. Like I go on a Thursday because then
Oh, you
the
go on
animation cell
Thursday?
boxes, the boxes aren't picked over. You can get like,
Oh,
I don't
you
have
gotta
that
get
many.
there.
I have like 5. But
They have Comic Cons in like every city. Like they have them. It's not just at the Javits Center, right? They have them like kind of. They're not gonna have one down here where I'm at, but they
Oh,
have
yeah,
them
they're
like all
everywhere.
over, right?
yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, they're awesome. So anyway, that's not from Comic-Con, but like I learned about it at Comic-Con. I'm like, oh, they have Pro Stars. That's kind of,
That's cool.
it's Michael Jordan, kind of dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I see
For
that.
some reason, I never saw that episode. I don't remember that one. But
Yeah, I don't remember many Pro Stars. Never was a big cartoon guy. Like even when I was 5-6-year-old fantasy executive, my life was always based in reality.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were you doing on Saturday mornings?
Fishing. Fishing.
Yeah,
I was
you were
fishing.
not.
I was fishing in the Hudson River.
Well, I was going to say off the Tappan Zee Bridge. That sounds about right.
Off the West Side Highway.
Producers remember Pro Stars. You remember Pro Stars in the chat room? Like, it was amazing. It was Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan, which I later found out in life it wasn't the real voices. Which I mean,
No,
it doesn't take that long to voice a cartoon.
You would think Michael Jordan, when he was on top of the world, was going to voice a cartoon?
How long are you? Look, I mean, it takes this long as we're doing the show to step in there in front of a microphone and be like,
Michael Jordan,
Gee,
like
Wayne, let's go get
Michael
the
Jordan
bad
like
guy.
to gamble, smoke cigars. You know what I'm saying? I really don't see Michael Jordan pulling up to the animation studio to voice a cartoon.
You assume he would have made a little more money.
He got all the money in the world.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, I
He's
guess
a
you're
shoe
right.
mogul.
Maybe
Yeah.
not at
Michael
the
Jordan
time.
don't need no money.
Maybe not at the time. It might be a good story to find out where those voice actors are now. Like, hey, these are Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. What do they do?
I know that would be cool. That would be.
Let's have them on the show.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. We'll get those 3 voice actors to come on and do this year's Christmas special.
Oh, that's not a bad idea if we can find them.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team where you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And we are about to break down some waiver wire ads for this week. Before we do that, we had a couple questions in the chat. One of these directly related to some of the waiver wire stuff going on today. So there's a lot of running back injuries with some ambiguity where we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Some week-to-week situations. Some players are injured, but they're still going to play. One of those players being DeAndre Swift. And I think his main backup, who we'll talk about on this bracket, is Jamal Williams. But Craig Reynolds got some work as well. And we had a question. Thoughts on Craig Reynolds? He is not in this bracket we're going to be doing. JL, do you have any interest in picking up Craig Reynolds if DeAndre Swift is going to miss some time?
No. Jamal Williams is going to be the guy. They trust him there in Detroit. He has the trust of the coaching staff. He has looked great. I probably wouldn't even waste picking him up, Craig Reynolds, because DeAndre Swift might even play. He'll be limited. If he does miss time, it's not necessarily going to be a long time. So I don't think it's worth spending much fab on Craig Reynolds.
Yeah, I agree on that. In your normal leagues, it's like we're almost entering this era in fantasy football where these crazy leagues, like the Scott Fishbowl type leagues and best ball with waivers and better ball and all these deep leagues. So if you're in those crazy leagues, like if it's a Scott Fishbowl, yeah, go ahead, add anybody who plays at all, right? Because those guys get added the moment they get, 2 or 3 touches, they get added because the waivers are barren. If your league is like that, then sure, Craig Reynolds, because we've seen him in the past play a little bit, but it's not like DeAndre Swift is out for the season. He might never be out for this week. So I wouldn't go too crazy picking up that guy on the depth chart.
If DeAndre Swift was out for the season,
then
would you be interested then?
Then I would be interested.
I would too. Yeah, just because I think that they would split it up. I still think Jamal would be the guy there, but I think that they would split it up. And Craig, if you missed Hard Knocks, Craig Reynolds has a great story. He's just a great dude.
And we've seen him play really well, right? In the past, we've seen Craig Reynolds play really well, and we know this offensive line is really good. Frank Ragnow is a monster. Penei Sewell, awesome, right? Like this is a great offensive line. Hog, just a bunch of hogs. I think Frank Ragnow went to Arkansas, so he's like a double hog, right? He's like he's a Razorback hog, right? So
Razorback hog sounds terrifying.
Yeah. We had another question in here. Fields been killing me in my super flex. Should I give him another chance this week or bench him for Mariota versus Cleveland? I'm going to start on this one. I'm out. I'm done plugging Fields in. I'm done plugging Mooney in. I'm done plugging Komet into my lineups until I see something from this offense that says you can. 17, 11, and 17 pass attempts from Justin Fields through the first 3 weeks. And he's not rushing like you want to see from him either. He's unstartable. I benched Justin Fields for Tony Pollard in a league this week in my super flex spot. Like I just took him out of there. I know it's not a great matchup for Mariota, but I'd play Mariota versus Cleveland over Justin Fields this weekend.
I would as well. Cleveland has not been the defense that we really thought the season so far. Mariota's been okay until we see those passing attempts go up from Chicago and some sort of semblance of common sense from their coaching staff there. I'm hands off.
I'm having a hard time coming up with players I would start over Justin Fields. I mean, I would start Justin Fields over. I mean, like are there any
QB1 on the week for you?
QB1 on the week, yeah, no. But I mean, I would start Geno Smith. I'd probably start Jacoby Brissett right now. Like, how many guys?
Jacoby Brissett looked great.
He looked awesome.
He threw like what 40 times, something like that.
Justin Fields is terrible, dude. Like
He
I might have
more in
his,
that
like,
game than Justin
32nd
Fields has
ranked.
ever thrown.
Yeah, he might be my 32nd ranked quarterback right now.
Yeah, I don't. Would you rather start Cooper Rush next week or Justin Fields?
Cooper Rush is a star, bro.
I got one for you, Coop. I got one for you, Coop.
Yeah.
Justin Fields or Brian Hoyer?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah. You got me.
Oh my God.
You got me. Yeah, you gotta start. You can't start Brian Hoyer, dude, under any circumstances. But you might have,
what about Milky Trubisky?
But if you have Justin Fields, you might have to add. If you have Justin Fields in a super flex, you should add Brian Hoyer to your bench. Just in case, like if you only have 2 quarterbacks, then you got to add anybody who's even is remotely has a chance of playing quarterback.
And there still is the chance that this Bears offense can do something different, right? Like there's the chance that this Bears offense can say, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else. But the problem is they're also 2-1, right? Like they also have won 2 games. Like, so we say it's not working, but they're staring down 2 wins, 1 loss through these 3 weeks, letting their defense kind of win games, grinding it out. And it looks ugly. It's not fun to watch. It's not good for fantasy for Fields or any of the pass catchers. But yeah, I'm out. This one hurts my feelings too. Every time I see questions like that, I'm just like, man, there goes like all of my passion from this offseason into Darnell Mooney, and it just means nothing now. We had a question from Albert about how much fab we would spend on Jamal Williams. We're actually going to talk about Jamal Williams right here in this waiver wire bracket. I wanted to run through the names we're going to talk about here today, guys. We've got Khalil Herbert, we've got Samaje Perine, Alexander Madison, and Jamal Williams for running backs. For wide receivers, we're talking about Romeo Doubs, Zay Jones, Mac Hollins, and Devontae Parker. That first matchup we're talking about is Khalil Herbert versus Samaje Perine. Coop, which of these guys would you rather pick up on the waiver wire?
This is pretty easy for me. Khalil Herbert, because I think that even we don't know the extent of the injuries for Mixon. Mixon didn't really play in the fourth quarter, but I think it's just an ankle. And then same with David Montgomery. We assume he's going to play, but if everybody were healthy, I would still like Khalil Herbert more than Samaje Perine. So, and if the starter were out, I would like Khalil Herbert better. So I gotta have Khalil Herbert ahead, especially after what we saw this week. He might have carved himself out a role.
Yeah, JL, are you agreeing with Coop here?
I would love to believe that Khalil Herbert has carved himself out a role and that this coaching staff will see that and use him again. But I'm just not confident in that. When we see it is a new coaching staff, but we saw the same thing happen last year. Khalil Herbert is definitely the number one guy though. So over Jamal Williams. Who was the other guy?
Samaje Perine.
Samaje Perine.
Yeah. I was just thinking because I saw Albert's comment about the Jamal Williams.
Right. Like how many times in a row does this guy have to have over 5 yards a carry?
Right.
You know?
Right. He looks explosive. I want it to happen. I would take Khalil Herbert in this situation. Absolutely. Yeah. Samaje Perine, not worth it.
But you made a great point, JL, that last year, right? Last year he came out, had 100 yards rushing against the league's best rushing defense, the Bucs. Khalil Herbert did. And then the moment David Montgomery got back, he went right back to the bench. So maybe you're right.
Yeah. And they like, we only see this in games, right? We see Khalil Herbert like whenever he plays. They see him all the time in practice. They know what they have. And so they haven't been playing him. So that's where maybe some of my like concern comes from, or like worry that they're not going to utilize him when David Montgomery does get back.
I get what you're saying, JL, but I think it's rare that on the waiver wire we get a player who could fully surpass the player in front of them without an injury, right? And so because of that,
I'm picking him up. I'm not saying don't pick him up. I'm just speaking to Coop's point.
Right. And just to build off of your point, there's a probability and a decent one, like a non-0% chance, one that we can see in the range of outcomes that Khalil Herbert does take over this backfield. And so because of that, like that's different than most other names on this list. Most other names you're looking at on the waiver wire, Khalil Herbert has a shot to take over that job with a healthy David Montgomery, even if that's not what we're predicting. So he's worth that waiver wire pickup. That's not possible for Perine. Perine's value comes exclusively if Joe Mixon misses time. And I still think Herbert's probably the more valuable one of the two. If their backs are missing time in front of them, it's going to be a clean sweep for Khalil Herbert on this one. And Dustin in the chat saying Herbert wins this bracket hands down. He's calling the winner early.
Now, do you think the Chicago coaching staff is mad that they won 2 games? Yeah, they can't even do a rebuild, right?
I think the coaching staff is happy they won 2 games, but the ownership is upset that they won 2 games, right? Like the coaches are probably like, hell yeah, we did it. And the owners are like, what the hell? This was supposed to be a tank job.
Tank job.
My favorite kind of job. Our next matchup, JL, we've got Alexander Madison versus the previously mentioned Jamal Williams. Which of these guys would you rather pick up for fantasy football?
It's say the names again.
Alexander Madison and Jamal Williams.
Ooh, it's gonna be. God, that is tough. I'm gonna go with Jamal Williams. I'm gonna go with Jamal Williams. Alexander Madison. He might not even be the starter this week. Dalvin Cook may play with a brace. He might just play through the game. Jamal Williams has a similar issue. We just said like DeAndre Swift might not miss time, but I think it's probably more likely that DeAndre Swift missed time. He's dealing with 2 different injuries. I think I'd rather have Jamal Williams out of 2 of these guys, but it is close because Alexander Madison has looked fantastic when he is filled in.
It's Jamal Williams for me, and it's not particularly close. And it comes down to like, what's the role whenever both of these guys are healthy because of the ambiguity of both of their injuries, right? Jamal Williams, they love him on the goal line. Like, so he still has that value, and he's been involved even when DeAndre Swift is out there on the field with the additional upside, like Alexander Madison. If DeAndre Swift misses time, he's probably the lead back. He's the go-to dude in that offense. So I'm going to add Jamal Williams here because of that. And just like you said, Joe, we've seen Alexander Madison step in and like have great games. We've also had weeks where it was like Alexander Madison is a slam dunk, top 5 running back. Dalvin Cook is out. Everyone start him, plug him in your lineups, and then it's nothing. And then it's just like a stinker of a game. Like we've seen that story a couple times as well. So I'll go with the guy who has more standalone value in Jamal Williams.
Yep, I'm with you on that. If you need a guy to plug in right now, it's Jamal Williams. And the thing is, there's a lot of hot waiver pickups this week. So if you don't need someone to plug in right away, maybe it makes sense to not use your fab and wait and just try and get Alexander Madison for cheap because he is that like
Good
lottery
call.
ticket play, right? He's a lottery ticket play where if sometimes guys come out this week and Dalvin Cook plays, in London or wherever they're playing, and then they say, and then he just decides, okay, we got to shut this guy down, and then they put him on the IR. Like that happens sometimes too. So that's the way I go there. And for folks that like the Alexander Madison handcuff situation, we got some good news this week because there was all this smoke about Ty Chandler and Keenan Nwangwu. Well, they had an opportunity to play. Keenan Nwangwu was definitely active. He was returning kicks, didn't get a single carry, didn't get a single target. So good news for folks that were playing the Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison handcuff game. Madison's still the guy when Dalvin goes down.
Yeah. Jamal Williams going to win that matchup. Let's finish up the running back side of this bracket. We now have Herbert versus Williams, and I feel like this one is where it maybe gets a little bit trickier. I guess I have the first vote on this one. This one is tough. This one is tough between these two guys because I feel like they kind of present different things. I'm going to go Khalil Herbert. Because I feel like he does have a role in this offense similar to Jamal Williams, not with the same upside that role has, right? That standalone role. But one of these guys has the opportunity potentially to be the lead back rest of season in this offense. One of them does not, barring injury. So I'm going to take the guy that could take that role, right? This isn't me predicting that Herbert steals it from Montgomery, but the guy that actually can. And I'm going to go Herbert on this one. Coop, are you following me on Herbert or are you voting for Williams here?
I think I gotta go Jamal Williams here. I'm going Jamal Williams just because he's a guy you could start right away regardless. The problem with Khalil Herbert is that, last week he was running well, 9 yards a carry, almost 10 yards a carry, and he still only got 4 carries. And he doesn't really catch passes. If it was like a split where Herbert was catching balls, then I would consider it more. But we know that Jamal Williams can catch the ball. We know that he's already getting the goal line work. I think that he's in line to potentially take a big chunk of this. And DeAndre Swift's gotten hurt every year so far. I know he's only been in the league for a couple of years, but he misses time every year, and now he's hurt again. I think Jamal Williams is probably the play. If I'm dropping my number one waiver pick or dropping a bunch of fab, it's because I need a running back to play for me now, and I just trust Jamal Williams better.
John Luke, what about you? Are you got to break the tie here, determine who's going to make it to the finals, Jamal Williams or Khalil Herbert? You have the power.
I don't know. Which way should I go with this?
The Senate. Do it. You going to get that supplant
Let's
up
go
on the
with-
screen?
Let's go with Jamal Williams, baby. Let's go! Grit.
I do love Jamal
That's
Williams.
that hard
Like,
knocks,
just
dude. That's
as
that
a
hard
person,
knocks.
So I'm not that mad.
Yes.
There's
hard
supplant, dude.
knocks.
Yeah, Jamal Williams going to supplant DeAndre Swift. I don't know about that, but
Bold take from Coop. Let's just clip that and then put it out there for the whole world to see that Coop is calling for Jamal Williams to overtake that job.
not only
Jamal
that,
Williams moving on to the finals, though.
not only that, but using a word that's not a real word that only like anyone that hangs out here would understand. So that would be a perfect.
It was here on the very first show within the very first couple minutes.
That would be the perfect clip to blast out there. Yeah, thank you.
I see Fantasy Dog in the chat saying, I have Montgomery. Would you drop ETN? Well, first, I just want to address like all this Khalil Herbert talk. We're talking from the lens of upside, what Khalil Herbert could be, right? The most likely outcome is that David Montgomery remains the lead back in this offense. Like that is the most likely outcome because that's what's been happening and he's been good for them. So I don't want this to seem like I'm saying Khalil Herbert is like predestined to take over for David Montgomery. Just when you got a shot like that on the waiver wire, I like taking it. Would you drop ETN? No, I'm still not dropping ETN. JL, I'm assuming it's a no for you as well.
Big old no.
Big old no. Coop, are you dropping ETN or are you still holding?
I'm holding.
Would you drop ETN for Herbert as the Montgomery roster?
I wouldn't because I play almost all the leagues I play are PPR leagues. I mean, no, they all are. I don't play any standard leagues. So give me the guy that catches passes. That's the way it goes.
Mr. ETN. We're going to start on the wide receiver side of this bracket. Our first matchup, JL, we're going to start with you. Romeo Dubes versus Zay Jones. Who would you rather have off the waiver wire? I can give you their stats for this week if you want, if those are some stats that you're looking for. Romeo Dubs had 8 targets, 8 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown in this one. Zay Jones, I just lost his stats. So sorry, you're just getting Dubs stats, JL. Is that okay?
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. For me, it's going to be Romeo Dubs, wide receiver for Green Bay. I very much think this wide receiver competition in Green Bay is still lively. It's still going on, and Romeo Dubs is making his case. Zay Jones, I think, is more of a fluke. I think Christian Kirk is going to get the target share in that offense, and I think there's other talented wide receivers there, more talented wide receivers than Zay Jones. I think Marvin Jones is much more talented than Zay Jones. So maybe even Evan Ingram. I don't know, but what was I saying? Who was I going between?
Zay Jones and Romeo Dubs.
Thank you. Yeah. So Romeo Dubs for me.
Yeah.
Romeo Dubs.
Romeo Dubs presents exciting upside compared to Zay Jones. And like you said, like for instance, this week, when you look at what the Chargers do best, Derwin James, taking away the tight end, they just went to other options. And I think there's going to be weeks where they go to Christian Kirk. There'll be weeks when they go to Zay Jones. There'll be weeks where they go to Ingram. There'll be weeks when they run. They have a lot more, it's not as set in stone besides Christian Kirk being the top dog. Whereas like with the Packers, I think Romeo Dubs could emerge as the top guy. I mean, we were talking about it in the offseason. He looked good. This week he looks great. Why not go with that, with the unknown upside versus a guy who's been in the league for like 4 or 5 years?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could see like a random like Devontae Parker-esque season where 4 or 5 years in, all of a sudden we get like a top 12 wide receiver season, but nothing else is pointing to that happening besides the fact that Zay Jones saw 11 targets in this one game, right? There's nothing like prescriptive saying that this is going to keep happening. Where with Dubs, like we don't have that like history necessarily to tell us that this isn't going to happen. He is a rookie and he just saw 8 targets. I'm with you guys. Dubs all the way going on to that next round right there. Romeo Dubs to the top. We got our next matchup. Coop, we'll start you with this one. Mac Hollins, who absolutely killed it this weekend in the absence of Hunter Renfrow, versus Devontae Parker. Hollins had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 158 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Parker with 10 targets, 5 receptions for 156 yards this week. Which one of these guys would you rather add to your team?
Yeah, I mean, this is tough because I don't particularly like either of these players. The thing with Mac Hollins is that it's a concussion for Hunter Renfrow. I don't think he's going to miss. He might miss another game, but he's not going to miss like extended time. And when you have Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, that's already tight enough. So give me Devontae Parker based on just that alone. Like you could put Mac Hollins up against pretty much anybody in the situation. And I'm going to say, like, you're chasing a week with an offense that we're not going to see. Now, if Devontae Adams or Hunter Renfrow were out for the season, then that would change. But, with Hunter Renfrow missing a game, it doesn't change anything for me. So give me Devontae Parker.
JL, are you agreeing with Coop here? Vote for Devontae Parker, or are you going the Mac Hollins route?
I'm going to go the Mac Hollins route. Devontae Parker through weeks 1 through 3, let's just break down his targets. 2 targets. 10 targets. And now Mac Jones is injured for 4+ weeks. I'm not incredibly excited about Devontae Parker. Mac Hollins, while I do think his upside is limited by Hunter Renfrow, he was still getting targets, at least in the one game that they both played. And I think Mac Hollins has a decent rapport with Derek Carr. I think he can still have some of that. I view him, especially when Hunter Renfrow comes back, as that type of player that you need to fill in at like a flex spot when one of your players is a bye or an injury. Like, he's that type of player to me.
This one's tough because I don't really want either. And I'm just kind of looking at like, what's the upside of both of these guys? Like, which one could potentially find their way into my lineup? And I'm finding a hard time seeing a route for Devontae Parker to like find his way into my lineup on a weekly basis. Like, if this question was who's going to have more PPR fantasy points at the end of the season, I'm probably voting Devontae Parker. But if we're looking at like which one's in the better offense, I know it hasn't looked good through the first 3 weeks, but we imagine that this Raiders offense is much better than the Patriots offense, right? Like on paper, it should be. He's got Derek Carr throwing him the ball instead of Brian Hoyer. JL, I think I'm with you on the Mac Hollins side here. Like, and it's not I think Mac Hollins is a better play next week. It's let's see what we got. Let's see if this offense can get things going. And maybe if I plug one of these guys in a bye week, Mac Hollins is more likely to get a touchdown, or Mac Hollins can fill in if one of the 3 other receiving options goes down. So I'm going to vote for Hollins here, but it is not with a lot of gusto. There's a lack of thunder behind it.
The Patriots are ranked 24th in passing attempts so far in the season. That kind of goes into what I'm trying to say here with the Devontae Parkers. I just don't know that there's a ton of upside. I don't expect him to go off that strategy.
I think the floor is lower, but I mean, what if Brian Hoyer is just laser focused on him? We have not seen the Brian Hoyer Patriots before.
You're right. It is a new quarterback, and Devontae Parker could be the guy while he's there. You're absolutely right. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not going to.
The floor is low.
Yeah,
the floor is lower, but the ceiling's hot. The ceiling with the unknown, I think, is higher for Parker, just because we don't know what this new Brian Hoyer error part 2 is going to look like.
Oh God,
that's fair. That's 100% fair. We're going to move on to our next matchup. This whole conversation we're having, which one of these guys has more upside, may not even matter here. We're talking Dubs versus Hollins now. JL, are you going Dubs or Hollins in this matchup?
I'm going to go Dubs. The rookie wide receiver, that upside, Aaron Rodgers offense, all signs point to Dubs.
All signs point to Dubs. I'm agreeing with you. It's going to be Dubs for me as well. Coop, what about you? Dubs or Hollins?
Yeah, this was too easy. In fact, I would take I would rank. We had Dubs go up against Zay Jones. I would take Dubs or Zay Jones over both the guys coming out the other side of the bracket. So it's Dubs easy for me.
Dubs, triple Dubs. Dubs moving on, and we can go ahead and hit this championship between the 2 players that made it through. We got Jamal Williams versus Romeo Dubs. Coop, where's your vote going on this one?
Usually I pick the running back, but in this case, given that we don't know any of these running backs are going to miss substantial time, I think that you have to take the shot on these rookies. You see what happened with Chris Olave and how he's kind of blowing up all of a sudden. I mean, Romeo Dubs could have that kind of path himself. So I'm interested anytime I see a rookie wide receiver start to flash. I want to get in there early because there's been enough times in the past where I was like, well, he's still a rookie. And then I missed out on Mike Evans or Odell Beckham or some of these guys. So I'm wanting in on the rookies. Anytime they start to flash, I want to at least give it a shot.
John Luke, are you agreeing with Coop here? Or are you going the running back route? Your favorite player, the star of Hard Knocks, Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams. No, I'm going with Coop here. That upside is Jamal Williams is what I kind of think of as temporary value, right? It's like it's ephemeral, but Romeo Dubs, he could give you value all year long if things go right for him. So I'm going to go Dubs.
If this was Herbert here, I think I would vote Herbert over Dubs. And that's not saying that I want Herbert over Williams, but as someone who drafted like quite a few 0 RB or hero RB teams, Herbert's the kind of player that I'm really looking for on the waiver wire. Like the guy that could truly like supplant for that role. No, like all jokes aside, Khalil Herbert has that upside. Jamal Williams, I don't think does, barring injury. He's going to have value weekly, but he's not the player I'm looking for. I'm going to vote Dubs here, make it a clean sweep. And Coop, you hit on that point. It's a rookie wide receiver who's flashing. I don't want to miss the train. I want to be part of that party if we're all celebrating Dubs at the end of the year as the guy who became the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't want to miss out on that. Romeo Dubs winning our waiver wire bracket for week 3. Speaking of Dubs, we have a question in here from Albert, and I saw a couple more of these. Albert said, would you drop Mooney to pick up Dubs?
No.
Yeah. Moody's still playing Moody's still playing all the snaps. And same with Cole Kmet, and it's just like you said, Simon, there's a world where, I don't know, maybe they bench Fields or maybe Fields figures it out. I mean, I know it's a new coaching staff, new offense, but I can't go away from the possibility of being that top. I don't know, because Dubs could be the top dog on the Packers. I don't know, Jay, where are you at?
I don't think Dubs will be the top guy on the Packers. I think that's
Sammy Watkins, obviously.
That's clearly Sammy Watkins. Yeah. He could. So maybe it's not fair to say that. I don't think he will, is what I'm saying. It's tricky. I don't know. Darnell Mooney, I think I would rather. He's still the one on that offense, even though that offense is buns. So I'm still going to keep Darnell Mooney. Hope they're able to get something going this season.
Albert, would I do it? No. But I wouldn't judge anyone for dropping Mooney and picking up Dubs. Know what I mean? I wouldn't look at that transaction in a league and be like, what the hell is this? I would say I get it. I think that's a reasonable move. I'm holding on to Mooney though, but I don't mind it. I don't hate that move. It's tough though. It's tough. Now, Coop, let's say next week, Coop, it sounds like maybe you were a little bit more willing to do that. So, Jayla, I'm going to throw this one to you. Let's say next week we see another performance from Dubs, another 8 target, 7 receptions, 75 yards, no touchdown this week, but solid. He's the leading target in that offense. And we see another week from this Bears offense. Mooney's still on the field every play, every snap, leading receiver, but it's just the poop water that we've been getting thus far. At what point are you willing to kind of make that switch?
I'm already right there. Yeah, I'm already so close now that one more week it would be too obvious. You know what I mean? Now is when you have to make the decision. That's the shame.
Yeah.
So I think I am making.
Coop's right.
I think I'm willing to make it now. I'm willing to make that drop. Simon.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not going to make that decision yet. If I can, I'm going to try and keep both those guys and maybe drop someone else. I don't know who else is on your team, but yeah, I think Coop was right. If he puts together another week, people are going to start to notice. And if it's not, depending on how big of a week it is, maybe it's not next week, maybe it's the week after. I don't know, but there's also a chance that he comes out and he doesn't do that again, or it flip flops, is inconsistent. So there's a few ways it could go.
Yeah. I see some more of your questions in here. We're going to get to those very shortly. We've got Vinny Iyer joining the show from Sporting News coming up next, and we'll play some Hypothetically. I'm excited to play some Tuesday morning Hypothetically. And then D.O. Ledbetter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Falcons beat writer, is joining us to follow up on some of the Falcons talk we did before the season started. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing, chop to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Burley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson the carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux.
Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena.
And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like
a butcher's dog, Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the bank, and you're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downing, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Better Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We had some questions come in that I wanted to make sure we got to, guys. The first one I see in here, Adam Weber wanted to know our thoughts on Justin Jefferson. Was it just tough matchups, or is he just not meeting our preseason expectations? So we came out week one, absolutely killed it. Looked like we were going to get the Justin Jefferson we saw last year, and then it hasn't been great since that. The past 2 weeks, whenever we're looking at PPR points, after a 39.4 point performance in week one, it's 10.8 and 4.4 PPR points in weeks 2 and 3. Coop, what's going on with Justin Jefferson?
Don't worry about Justin Jefferson. Start him every week. Don't sell low. Go out and trade for him. That's my opinion on that. The guy's a star, and you know who else might be a star? Jeff Okudah from the Lions. I'm seeing some stuff. He was a rookie last year, but he got hurt. I'm seeing some stuff saying that it's not just this week, that 3 weeks in a row now, he's been a real problem. And he's shadowing, he's locking guys down. So I think that it's not so much that we need to worry about Jeff Okudah. I'm sorry, that we need to worry about Justin Jefferson, but maybe we need to worry about Jeff Okudah, right?
And maybe Jefferson's not one of these guys that's matchup proof, right? Like there's certain wide receivers where when they go up against a certain corner, we say like, okay, maybe lower expectations this week. Maybe Jefferson's one of those guys when he has that tough individual matchup that you move him down a peg or two in your rankings that week.
I'm not concerned at all about Justin Jefferson. Whenever while I was watching this game, it just seemed like they were double teaming him or putting him in double coverage almost the entire game. I think they were just trying to take him out of the equation this past game. He's fine. You're gonna have weeks like this from every single wide receiver, especially wide receivers over other positions. They have a little bit more variance week to week. Not concerned at all.
Yeah, and Hal's agreeing with you in the chat, Coop, about Jeff Okudah, saying 100% Coop. Okudah Island, fellas.
So I got the stats here. Week one, he covered Devonta Smith, and Devonta Smith had 0 catches. Week two, he covered Terry McLaurin, and in the plays where he was covering McLaurin had 2 catches for 22 yards. And then this week, Justin Jefferson, 3 catches for 14 yards when Okudah was covering him. That's based on Pro Football Focus. So, yikes.
Dude is shutting people down. We had another question in here from Emily. Emily said, morning, friends. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Emily.
Would you drop Mecole Hardman for Amari Cooper? Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Right now, do it yesterday. Do it as fast as you can. Amari Cooper's the wide receiver 1 for his team. Like pretty clearly the wide receiver 1. You got to pick that up. Mecole Hardman is a hope and a prayer in this Chiefs offense. Like that's what you're doing with Mecole Hardman. Just crossing your fingers, hoping he comes in with a touchdown that week. I see Work and Grind down here saying I sat Cooper in a league, SMH, as did I. I sat Amari Cooper in a couple leagues this week. not looking great. Mostly dynasty leagues because I didn't draft him a lot in redraft, and maybe I should have been drafting him higher.
You're gonna fire him up this week, and he's gonna put up a dud.
Coop, here's a question.
Pico Harmon's gonna go off.
Yeah, Pico Harmon's gonna go off.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fantasy, right? Ingram, Njoku, Woods, Johnson, who you're rolling out this week. Do any of them get me out of the tight end streaming business? So we've got Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Jelani Woods, and Jawan Johnson. Who would you be rolling out this week, Coop? Or do any of these names give you the confidence that you won't have to just be playing streamers week in, week out?
Yeah, so you can't start Jelani Woods, right? He only played 16 snaps, man. You know, it's just not you're picking up and starting Jelani Woods is no different than the people that picked up and started OJ Howard after week 1. Like you're chasing unsustainable usage based on, you know, what he delivered. The guy that you should go after is David Njoku, because his usage this week was exactly what we wanted to see. I was off Njoku week 1 because he blocked on 8 pass snaps. That is a killer. You got to be running those routes. This week, he only blocked on 2, and he ran 28 routes out of 34, which is about the same as Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? So only 5 less than Amari Cooper. So he's actually playing the full game, running the routes, and he's closest to being a top 2 target on his team. Juwan Johnson, maybe is Jarvis Landry out? Do we know? Because that moves Juwan up a little bit, but not. I mean, he's still battling with Olave. He looks like a stud. Michael Thomas, he needs some injuries. Juwan Johnson, but his usage is pretty good as well behind the scenes. You know, this week he obviously came out, dropped a 0 spot, which pretty killer. But I think Njoku's the safest one, followed by Juwan Johnson for me.
And just to update you, it looks like the Jarvis Landry injury isn't expected to be serious, so he shouldn't miss any time. Jarvis Landry coming back. Yeah. So JL, are you agreeing with Coop here? I saw you nodding your head along whenever he was saying Njoku.
I absolutely agree. Njoku would be the guy I would pick out too. Yeah, the snap share is promising. This offense looks better than I thought with Jacoby Brissett. And then Deshaun Watson will be back later on in the season. And it seems like they're finally dedicated to using Njoku the way that we hoped, like Coop was saying. And he's getting a couple of red zone targets, which is really nice. So I'll go Njoku.
Yeah, it's Njoku for me as well. I see Hallen here asking Bryant a worry for Njoku. Looks like Njoku's the guy that they want to be that lead tight end. I like Harrison Bryant in Dynasty. I think he's worth holding on to in Dynasty leagues, but I'm not too worried about Bryant eating into that work. What about you, Coop? Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
It seems like he's hovering around like 40, like high 40% snap share compared to David Njoku is around the high 80s, low 90s. So yeah, I think Njoku is clearly the guy, like you were saying, Simon.
The concern we have with Harrison Bryant is that, like the concern I had before, which made me move Njoku so far down, is that it was kind of set up before where it was like Harrison Bryant would get the better usage even though he wasn't playing as many snaps. And we saw this with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, where it was like Dallas Goedert would play the whole game, but he would be inline blocking, and then Ertz would get to play the slot just because he's worse at blocking. And I think that Njoku being so good at blocking in this situation kind of hurts him a little bit. But this week they decided not to have him block. They had him running a ton of routes. He ran double the routes of Harrison Bryant. But you're right, Harrison Bryant is just kind of annoying thorn there, just in terms of you don't want another tight end who is playing the slot while you're playing inline. It's annoying. Njoku looked really good this week.
Yeah, I see a question in here from Terry. Terry, we might need some clarification on this one. Wants to know, should I trade J-Rob and London for J-Rob and Sutton? I imagine one of those J-Robs is not supposed to be a J-Rob. They added I need help afterwards as well. If you could provide some clarification on unless there's 2 J-Robs and both are being abbreviated that way. James Robinson and Joey Robinson.
Jim Robinson.
Jim, not Joey. Jim Robinson, of course. The tight receiver for the Green City Steel Boys.
Steel Boys.
We made it. We did it.
Steel Boys.
Simon, after finally getting through that team name, we did it.
We did it.
Ambiguity. There's a little bit of ambiguity on this
ambiguity there. Yeah, clear up that situation. And I was just thinking quietly to myself while you were stammering on about something, and I was thinking about the Njoku situation. Just the crazy thing about the tight ends and this thing is, just imagine what if TJ Watt was playing? Then Njoku might have to stay in and block more. That's how crazy tight end is from week to week. And we do our best to give you the best season-long plays and tell you who might have tough matchups. Like we warned you about Derwin James a little bit with Evan Ingram. Yeah, you have to pay attention to that stuff if you're in the land of rostering multiple tight ends. Like if you have Kelsey or Andrews, you just start him every week. Kelsey's going to face Derwin James again. And guess what? You start him because he's Travis Kelsey, right? But once you get down to the nitty-gritty here, matchups matter. So as always, I'm going to post my weekly rankings again when we get closer to the end of the week. So just keep an eye on that.
They were talking about that a ton on the broadcast yesterday, Coop, how like going against this Cowboys defense, you basically have to have a tight end or a running back inline blocking at all times, or you're just sacrificing your quarterback to Micah Parsons, just like laying him out on a pedestal saying like, come and get him. Here he is.
And not just Micah. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence had 3 sacks today, was it? Like he had 3 sacks. He didn't play the whole game, dude. Like he probably would have had 5 if he didn't get banged up. He went to the locker room. He had 3 sacks, and when he went to the locker room, he came back out later. But I mean, jeez, dude, animal.
Are you spending a lot of fab on Njoku? I see Hal in here, so probably don't spend much fab on Njoku.
That's where at. So it depends Hal. It depends who your starter is right now. Like if I have Evan Ingram, I'm not going crazy trying to get guys that a guy that we saw block 8 times, because Evan Ingram on the year, his usage is still good. It's just, there's no reason to force it to him when the other team wants to take him away. They made that the Chargers made that call to take him away, and you just got to throw it to the other guys. And they did a fine, it worked fine throwing it to the other guys. Sometimes it's a chess game where one team wants to do one thing and you just do your thing. And this time it worked for the Jaguars. Unfortunately, that meant sacrificing Evan Ingram to the Lambs. Who cares?
Yeah. We got an update on that question from Terry. It was J. Rob and Sutton for Dalvin Cook and London. So James Robinson and Sutton for Dalvin Cook and London. JL, are you making that trade?
I'm on the Dalvin Cook and London side. So presume if that is the side that you are trading for, then yes, I would make that trade.
Yeah, if I'm that's the side in a vacuum I like better, especially if you're like 2-1 or 3-0. Go big with Dalvin and London side. If you're struggling a little bit, you might want to go J. Rob and Sutton though, right? Because Dalvin might miss time, or he might be banged up.
That's it. That's a great point to add on, Coop, because it is not end all be all. This does depend on the situation because of the risk, right? This is like a risk trade off.
Right. But I like it though. I like the risky side. That's go for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking the Dalvin Cook and London side. I love a little bit of risk, especially in these redraft lineups. I'm not scared of injuries. I'm going to try to build that most dominant lineup that I can. And then Coop, we're talking about rookie wide receivers. This is the time to trade for the rookie wide receivers if you want to get in. London, probably the hardest to trade for of the rookie wide receivers just because of what he's done so far this year, his role in this offense. But still, I imagine it gets better for these rookie wide receivers as the season goes on, not worse, especially a guy like Drake London. Guys, joining the show right now, we've got returning guest, our great friend, NFL and fantasy football writer at Sporting News and host on Locked On Sports. We've got Vinny Iyer joining the show. Vinny, my man, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good to see you again, my friend.
We got 3 weeks of football in the books now. It's and 2 just exciting night games to cap off this week, right? Like just thrilling Sunday and Monday night football.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed them because the fantasy gods went my way. I think I had Deebo Samuel and the Broncos defense, and I won a matchup with them. And then
beautiful.
I was playing Cortland Sutton and the 49ers defense, so I won that matchup as well. So it was nice to watch. I was watching on the edge of my seat there, and the Broncos came through. I was a little bit worried going into the game. They had that early touchdown drive, the 49ers, and I thought, this might be a high-scoring game. That wasn't the case at all. That was the first touchdown until the end of the game. And then I don't think it went out of the way I thought it was going to go in Monday Night Football. I thought the Cowboys were going to be the better overall team. I mean, you got to feel for Daniel Jones. There's no one out there making plays at all for him. And Kenny Golladay, I wonder if he's going to be traded or dumped this week. It's brutal to watch Giants offense. And then that Sterling Shepard injury, wow, just a guy that's always been hurt, and he's just hurt running down the field.
So sad. Yeah, it's so disappointing for him.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's tough. I mean, it's Saquon and not much else with the Giants. The Cowboys, at least, you had to be encouraged. CeeDee Lamb had that drop with that touchdown, and then you had Zeke get going. That was great, and Tony Pollard. So maybe the Cowboys are not a lost cause anymore.
Maybe not. Yeah, especially with the news coming out now that not that Cooper Rush has looked bad. I was about to say, especially with Dak coming back. Cooper Rush has looked good in his start so far, but Dak coming back now, week 5, like this offense could take even another step forward, be better than we expected after the small sample size we had with Dak in week 1, right?
Yeah, definitely. If Michael Gallup is going to return here in the next couple of weeks, that's going to help. So, I mean, they get the Commanders this week. We know how bad the Commanders defense has been. It's atrocious. So I think they could probably sit Dak and still put up 35 points on this team. So
yeah, it's crazy that we mentioned all those guys and we also didn't mention Dalton Schultz. Like the Cowboys have been kind of getting by without their big dogs. I mean, they don't even have Tyron Smith, but he's not coming back. But Dalton Schultz will be back. I mean, this team could be good. They could be a good all-around football team. And if Dak can come back and play at a Cooper Rush level of football, then it could be a wagon.
Yeah. Vinny, we were talking a little earlier about Daniel Jones and whether he is good. Is he like if he's a good quarterback or if he is just a mirage, like if he's just not going to make it. You mentioned him a little bit that his weapons weren't there for him, weren't working for him last night. What's your take on Daniel Jones going forward?
Well, I think it's very difficult for any young quarterback to be in different systems early in his career, and he's had that. I mean, there's two ways you can look at it. We saw Jason Campbell when he was there throwing back a name for Washington. If they had kind of stuck with the system and done some things around him, maybe Jason Campbell would have had another outcome with his career instead he just was a kind of a journeyman backup guy. And then you also saw the other way of it, Alex Smith. I mean, he was in a lot of different systems. He wasn't all that great early. Then he ended up being pretty good once he got to being a veteran quarterback and got with Andy Reid. So I don't know what's going to happen with Daniel Jones. Is he going to be Jason Campbell? Is he going to be Alex Smith? He's somewhere in the middle of both of those guys right now. And it's unfortunate because I think the physical talent is there. I think he's got the arm, the athleticism to do the things that they need. But the receiving core has just been an absolute mess. There's been no consistency. The offensive line is just now trying to improve. So I don't know. And he hasn't had Saquon healthy for most of his time as a starting quarterback. So it's hard to play quarterback when you don't have a lot of help. I mean, you look at Josh Allen. What did the Bills do for him? They got the offensive line fixed. Everything. They were traded for Stephon Diggs. They got all the weapons that you could ask for and got a coordinator to take advantage of his skill set. So sometimes it's not all that young quarterback's fault. It really takes a lot of guys around him to make it work. And we've seen that a little bit with Tua. It hasn't been great before, but now he's in a great system, and we're seeing what Tua's doing.
My problem with Daniel Jones is I agree with everything you said. And I agree. Like, and I said a little bit earlier, like, man, like last night was terrible, but I don't even know if we can pin that on him. Dude was running for his life the entire night. And then, like you said, whenever he did get the pass off, his receivers weren't doing him any favors either. But none of that invalidates that he could just be bad as well, right? Like all these things could be true and he could just be a bad quarterback. And that's hard to make that call. Like maybe they don't see enough even to like put the investment into making those changes for a quarterback like Daniel Jones. Do you expect him to be the starter next season for the Giants?
I don't think it looks good here because one thing we've heard from this crew with Brian Dable and Joe Shane is they want to do it with their own dudes. They don't want these guys, don't want Kadarius Toney, don't want Kenny Golladay. These are mistakes that they feel the previous regime made. They don't want any part of these guys, and that's what you're seeing. That's why you see the trade rumors. So they want a clean house. I think that's the key. And they're going to get an opportunity at some really good quarterbacks in next year's draft. I mean, that's the thing is Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are sitting out there. I think you want to be in play for one of those guys as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the case. I don't know who else is going to be out there. I mean, we look at Tyler Van Dyke. He's been okay, but he hasn't been great. And Will Levis has been all right there for Kentucky. So these are the other guys that you have. But I think if you're thinking about what quarterback you have now, you got to think about Young and Stroud.
Yeah, except the Giants keep on winning some games here. Hopefully they cut that out if they want to be in play for one of those guys. I remember, I think it was on 538 that I was reading this article. It was talking about the Giants, like improbable start to the season at 2-0. And they went through the history of like all other teams that have ever started 2-0, but had a 5-point or less positive point differential through those first two games. Because the Giants only had a +4 point differential through the first 2 weeks. And of those teams, it does not look good. Like there's a couple teams that snuck on and ended with like 10-4 seasons, 9-5 seasons, and made the playoffs. But there's just as many teams that finished 2-12, 3-13, like depending on the year. Like just as recently as 2012, the Eagles started 2-0 with a 1 point differential and then finished the season 2-12. Didn't win another game for the rest of the year. So maybe this Giants team isn't what they looked like through the first 2 weeks, or maybe they are what they look like, but the record starts matching a little bit and they can be in play for one of those quarterbacks.
Well, get ready because it's going to be Giants and Bears. Someone has to win that game this week. One of those teams is going to be
one of the
3-1.
teams. Yeah.
They
could tie, Vinny.
They could tie. That would actually be the perfect outcome. But
0-0.
But that's probably going to be your 10-6, 9-8 game of the week. That's probably coming up. Bears.
Based on how things have gone so far this season, that game's now going to be like a 52-43 blowout, like just shootout. All of a sudden, all this offense is flying in because it seems like a no-brainer 9-6 game, right? Like it seems like it has to be.
The line has opened up at 39, the over-under. So they're already predicting it to be low-scoring affair.
That's pretty high. That's high.
I was going to say I'm taking the under on that.
I mean, it's very rarely that low. It's very rarely much. I don't think I've seen one that's 35 in the NFL.
You said 35, not 39 in point.
No, it's 39. I said I don't think I've ever seen one that low. I've seen them 37, 38, but like that is low. 39 is low. And
I got a little
Giants at home favored by 3.
I got a little game for you guys.
Okay.
Can you tell me, closest will get the point here. Can you tell me what year was the last time that there was a 0-0 score?
In the NFL or in college?
In the NFL.
It's not fair.
Pro football history.
It's not fair to do trivia with a Jeopardy champ Vinny on the show.
I can tell you around when it was. It was probably before all of us were born, but well before all of us were born. Maybe well before any of our grandparents were born. I'm going to say 1935 or something.
1935 from Vinny. What about you, Coop?
1936.
1936.
And I'll go with 1934.
We got him trapped. Sorry,
well,
Vinny.
Coop, you were going to get the point because it was 1943. The New York Giants at the
I
Detroit
picked
Lions.
the wrong side.
Great job by Vinny though. Like
great job by Vinny. Just got screwed.
One person made a real guess, and then 2 people are jerks. But so yeah,
that's all right.
The fact that you were able to get that close, like you were what?
Well,
7 years old?
I just knew they didn't have the ties after a certain time. So those were back in the days where they just ran the ball and hoped for the best. And that was all they did. So
right, yeah. To get a tie like that now, you need to go to a bunch of overtimes too to get the full 0-0 effect. So
right.
I mentioned it on yesterday's show, I think, but I'm going to mention it again today. The best sports image of all time, I think, is Beamer walking on the field at the end of the game, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. It's 0-0 at the end of regulation, and he just got both fists in the air celebrating. He's like, I know it was because they made it to overtime. Like they stopped them at the end of the game, but he just walks out there, both fists in the air, but at the bottom it says 0-0 end of regulation, and like the face that he's making does not match the celebration at the end. So on that Bears Giants game, we're talking about Daniel Jones potentially losing his job, but on the other side as well, people are having similar conversations about Justin Fields. Is Justin Fields going to be the guy for this Bears team? It's been rough so far, and I was bought into Justin Fields having kind of like a much better season, a new coaching staff that's going to get in there and build the offense around him. Are you giving up on Justin Fields and his receiving options for fantasy this season?
Well, for now, I mean, you just have to look at this situation. It's all over the board, and it's hard to tell. Are they pulling back Justin Fields because that's where they're coaching? Or are they pulling back Justin Fields because they don't trust Justin Fields and they're winning games in different ways here? Yeah. So I think the difference between him and Jones, obviously, is that Jones, you've had the larger sample size, and the Giants have the new coaching staff where they've realized, okay, he hasn't made it work with these other guys. He's not probably going to make it work with us. Where Justin Fields, you see that upside. He shows it on a few plays, and you're like, why can't he just put it together? I mean, this guy could run for big yardage. He could throw the ball downfield if we just get him accurate and consistent here, and it's very frustrating because the physical talent you can see with Justin Fields, but the mental stuff. I mean, it's been documented. Maybe this is why he dropped in the draft in relation to those other guys. And we were saying, oh, they got a steal here down here in the draft, but maybe that's why we didn't have Justin Fields go as high. Maybe some of these evaluators were right. So I don't know. Like, it's going to be really tough. I mean, I have Darnell Mooney on a few teams here. I'm not playing him. I mean, I got different options, so I can easily go away from him. But I'd like to see him get better. I think Darnell Mooney is a top talent. He just doesn't have a guy who can get him the ball at this point. So it'll be interesting to see if they wave the white flag and just say, okay, Fields is not the guy. We'll just put in Trevor Siemian to try to win some games, try to get a passing game going here, and then just bridge next year. So if they bench him at one point, I think it's over for Fields because it happens in an early part of a career for a quarterback. That's it. Like, they're not going back. You can't return to it.
Yeah. No, it's been, I was buying into the fact that they were going to step forward. And Vinny, it's what you said. We've seen the flashes, right? We've seen the reasons why he was still, I know he dropped, but still drafted early, why people were excited for him, why we thought he could be something special for fantasy in the NFL, but it's just not coming together. I've taken him out of my super flex spots. Like, he's not even worth starting in 2 quarterback leagues for me at this point.
What were some of your big takeaways from week 3, Vinny?
Well, I really liked what I saw from the Packers passing game. I think we're kind of settling into some guys now, and it kind of happened by default there. Sammy Watkins was put on IR. Christian Watson couldn't play. So what do you have left? You have Alan Lazard and Romeo Doubs and Robert Tonyan. These are the guys that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to roll with here when he's not looking at Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So I like that. I like having some answers there. And all the talk about Julio Jones, I think we forgot about Russell Gage in that same game having a very good summer. I mean, they signed Julio Jones really late. I mean, you saw they went after Gage pretty early to replace Antonio Brown. And now you look at Chris Godwin, he could miss time. Julio Jones, I think, is still washed here. I don't think he's a guy that's going to stay healthy. So all of a sudden, you're looking at Russell Gage maybe being a trusted number 2 target for Tom Brady. So that's good to see. I mean, you want guys that are going to get trusted by top quarterbacks. So those are some interesting developments there. I think their Doubs and Gage can have some value going forward. And the other thing, I mean, it's injuries. They're going to hit us at running back. I think 3/4 of the NFC North went down. So thankfully, no Jones or Dillon, but we had Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, and David Montgomery go down. So some opportunities there for some fantasy managers to take advantage of that. And I like Khalil Herbert early there in drafts. I thought he was a guy to go after late versus drafting David Montgomery. And now Khalil Herbert is a RB1 coming off the bench. And they're going to keep handing this kid the ball. So he's in a great spot here. I mean, Giants has got gashed by Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. So this is really nice spot here for Khalil Herbert where he's not going to even have to share with Montgomery.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Russell Gage because, you know, we do a waiver bracket earlier in the show. Anybody who's watching, we try to use guys in that bracket that are very low owned, but I would make sure you double check on guys like Chris Olave, who's owned in, 60% of leagues, which means there's 40% of leagues where he's not. Russell Gage is a guy where I think he's still under 50% owned on Yahoo. So he's out there in a lot of leagues. And dude, catching 12 of 13 targets from Tom Brady, you think Tom Brady's going to remember that next week when he's looking for somebody safe? And people don't realize that Russell Gage last year, when Calvin Ridley was out, he moved to the outside. He's not just a slot guy. This guy can play flanker and slot. He can't play split end, but who cares? They have Mike Evans to play split end, right? So he plays flanker and slot. He can be out there every single play if guys are hurt. So I love that call thing. I'm all over that.
No, and Coop, that was a great point about Olave. And one of the players we mentioned earlier, Jameson Williams, is also in that kind of same category, right? Like he's probably rostered, but worth checking on the waiver wire. Benny, we talked about Khalil Herbert, but I think Jameson Williams is in a similar situation where there's not Jameson Williams, sorry, Jamal Williams, getting my Lions confused over here. But Jamal Williams is in a similar situation where his starting running back is injured, but likely playing. But we've also seen him take some of that goal line work. Is Jamal Williams a player you think you can start week in, week out, even if DeAndre Swift is healthy? Or is he just a high-value backup running back that you should have on your team?
I think he's a guy that could play as a standard league flex option, but PPR, half-point PPR, it's really hard to justify that because, again, you really depend on the touchdowns. I mean, that's a big part of his value. Now, if they start to make this more of a 50-50 split, then we're talking a different story here. But Williams pretty much has been the power back, closing out drives for them. The one good thing is the Lions can run the ball most on anyone, and they are moving the ball. So they're always going to be positioned to score points here. So there are some things that I do like about Jamal Williams. But again, he could easily have a game where they stuff the run and they're not getting in the red zone against a better team. And then you're sitting at nothing here. But against the Seahawks, yeah, I think you're going to play them at home. That's a really good spot because I think the Lions should be ahead in that game. They should be scoring a ton of points on that CL defense. So Jamal Williams this week, yeah, I'm going to get him in. I like him even as an RB2, no matter what your format is. I mean, that's what I like. The Lions offense putting up points and getting Seattle. It's a beautiful matchup. So invest in as many Lions as you can this week.
Man, how cool that we even get to say that out loud. Invest in as many Lions as possible this week. The Lions offense is great. Vinny, I want to thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us today, my man. It's always a pleasure getting to talk some fantasy football with you.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Anytime. See you next time.
Absolutely. See you next time. Guys, make sure you go follow our friend Vinny Iyer on Twitter. We just posted the link in the chat as well. So if you want to go follow him, you can find him at Vinny Iyer. That is VINNIEIYER. Truly one of our favorite in the business. Vinny, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much again for coming on. Coming up, we are going to play some Hypothetically, and then we've got our friend D.O. Ledbetter, beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons, joining the show a bit later as well. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, though, if you like games, if you like fantasy football, make sure you head on over to our channel at Front Yard Fantasy and hit that subscribe button as well. We've got a show later today at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Right there, we're going to be playing some fantasy football Jeopardy. So head on over there. Make sure you're subscribed. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
Surely, kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
Yeah, they're always readily available too. It seems like, you know what I mean. Like they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
run it back? That's right.
I imagine every single kicker that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere, just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just in the local high school kicking field goals, and the phone rings. They get a call and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this.
I have an amazing kicker story. If you guys have a second.
I got a couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two guys are Morton and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And all these colleges are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3 point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me on the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer team.
We don't even care.
We totally have that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. Like, this guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right, yeah. Like, Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school coach ended up being somebody crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We just had Vinny Iyer on, and Vinny is the absolute man. I love talking to that guy. I'm going to try not to say what we say every single time after a guest comes on.
He's the
Good
best.
guy.
Exactly,
God,
yeah.
just what a good guy.
I love that we had him on. I love we had the Jeopardy dude on, and then Hal pointed out that we totally prices righted him with that question, right? Like,
wrong game.
Like, yeah, just like good try, Jeopardy dude. Welcome to the show.
We're about to get into
and his guest was also amazing too.
Yeah,
it was right on. Coop, I feel like you and I, whoever guessed next, was immediately gonna do that. Like it was just like, oh yeah, we're just stealing Venny's points right here. Jay in here said, is Najee and Higgins enough to get Jefferson in a trade PPR?
Yes,
Yeah,
but you shouldn't.
I would try just Najee straight up for Jefferson, and then I'm not sure if I want to do that. But like, you don't have to add Higgins in there yet.
Yeah, it's far too much for Jefferson.
Yeah, I would start with Najee for Jefferson and then just work your way up. Like, try and throw in a much worse player than Higgins. And if you have to settle for Higgins, maybe, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
The way Jefferson's
you can
playing,
always go up. You can't
go.
It's like a haircut. You can't go back once you offer it.
Yeah, but unlike hair, the Jefferson won't, or the Higgins won't slowly grow back on your team. You're not gonna get. You're not.
Well,
your flex spot isn't gonna all of a sudden just start getting like a Higgins stubble in your flex spot. You get just like a quarter of his points coming in. Ooh,
that's hilarious.
Oh, that's a little. I don't know why that's grossing me out thinking about you just get like a little bit of that stubble coming in that flex spot. I think this is a perfect segue. We are going into a game called Hypothetically, and JL, I believe you're running this game for us today. You got the hypothetical situations for us?
I absolutely have the hypothetical situations for you. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, and JL, in the show sheet, peek behind the curtain for everyone. Usually I take a little peek at them beforehand. Like I might try to get a thought, and I'm talking 5 seconds beforehand, right?
Did I leave any in there? Because I took them out.
No, right before, like 5 seconds before you're about to ask it, I might peek and like start thinking that way. I got 5 seconds. It said specifically whenever I like opened that tab, it said, please do not open, do not peek, or something along those lines. So I'm out. Going in blind.
There's a show sheet.
I don't know if you can call it that.
Dude, I'm not kidding when I say I'm not kidding when I say that I've never looked at the hypotheticals before we do them. I think it's better that way. And not one time. Well, not even the time that I read them.
It wouldn't help you if you did look, because after putting those items in the show sheet, I ended up taking them out and just doing them on my own because I didn't want you guys to see it ahead of time.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's get into it.
I never look at the show sheet, Keith.
If you haven't watched us play hypothetically before, this game is very simple. I'm going to pose a hypothetical situation, a philosophical question, a would you rather type of question. These guys have to respond how they would to whatever the prompt is, and there's only one rule, is that they overthink the absolute hell out of their response. You guys ready?
Yeah, I see Kevin Tompkins in the YouTube chat saying, trust me, Coop doesn't look at a show sheet until 3 minutes before any show. That's Coop's co-host. That's Coop's co-host for everything.
That's called
just on everything else.
That's called Mr. Coolin' It.
Mr. Coolin'.
I take a peek sometimes.
A little peek. All right, guys.
Let's talk.
All right, Simon.
Yes.
You're going first on this one. I guess that doesn't really matter who is first because you guys both asked clarification questions. But here's their first prompt. Would you rather go down in history for the butt punt, a.k.a. the donk doink, or the butt fumble? Would you rather go down in history for the butt punt, a.k.a. the donk doink, or the butt fumble? Nice and simple.
Am I the football up the butt recipient or the...
You are the football. Who is anybody talking about the punter?
No, no one's talking about the punter. They're talking about Trent with the ball up the bum.
Trent with the b-hole.
Well, so that's the thing though, is that because with the butt fumble, it's all Mark Sanchez. Nobody knows whose butt he face planted off, do they? So now it's kind of a different question. You know what I mean? Now it's
no. So in each respective one, it would be Mark Sanchez or Sherfield, like that situation essentially. Which would you rather?
Either you have that photo of you with a football wedged perfectly between your ass cheeks before you even realize it, or you have that video of your butt fumble played over and over and over again for the rest of eternity as like a highlight that keeps showing up in NFL worst plays of all time.
Every time they talk about you, yeah, that's your legacy. Is the butt fumble. It wouldn't be the butt fumble. Like, it's not like you're replacing Mark Sanchez, but similar situation. Like you butt fumbled.
Okay, so that's a big thing. So I'm not Mark Sanchez or Trent Sherfield. I don't get that changes everything because I'm pretty sure Mark Sanchez made like $60 million or something in his career. So I think I'll take the money and you can end the butt to the face. For that amount of money, dude. That amount of money, my job could be taking a butt to the face every morning. Like I would like every day.
Yeah, my alarm clock could be an NFL punter, just like cut out a hole in the bottom of my bed, and that can be my alarm clock in the morning.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Even for Trent, I'm not sure. Trent Sherfield might have his career earnings might be like $5 million. I think I would still do butt to the face for that. Like it's like that amount of money, dude. Yeah, I think I'm taking either deal, but 60 million, yeah. Okay, so
who was the
you don't get the money, just the
punter.
butt.
Who was the punter that kicked the butt punt? Like who kicked that butt punt?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Number 4.
That guy should start selling that experience. Morstead, you can relive the butt punt. Like he should start selling that as like an Airbnb experience. Like pay a couple grand, come to the Miami Dolphins stadium and have me kick a punt up your butt. Just to like see, and they can try to recreate the photo. They can have it ready to go, and you can get your own butt punt custom portrait at the Miami Dolphins stadium. Like
how much?
That's a $1 million idea right there. That's almost as good as our Shrek's line, JL.
Our Shrek's line. That's true. That's true. It's not Coop. Yesterday, Simon, we were talking about this butt punt, and Simon goes, we're talking about the Pro Bowl and how the Pro Bowl is now like a mini game, and that one of the mini games might be you have to kick a punt perfectly into Trent Sherfield's butthole.
It's the Thomas Morstead punt putt experience contest.
Exactly. The contest. Yeah. And Simon, and I quote, says, "Guy just has to take 15 up the butt cheeks."
So we got to get Trent Sherfield at Pro Bowl now.
He has to go to the Pro Bowl. I'm taking the punt. Not a putt. No one's putting it. No one's putting anything up my butt.
But that's at the PGA. That's at the PGA. Pro
do
Bowl.
Not Google butt putt. I warn you.
Bottom golf.
Don't Google that. But butt punt is the one I'm taking, JL. And it comes down to one thing. I tried to get around it. I tried to go everywhere else. It's that photograph. That photograph is so incredible. It's so beautiful. Like if that was me, that would be my profile picture on everything. It would be framed in on my wall. I would have a fat head made of it. I would have a painter paint it. Like I'd get that thing in the Louvre. We're talking.
Can you imagine a fat head, like no background. It's just you getting that ball to the booty. That'd be fantastic.
So I'm taking that one because that photograph is something I would treasure for the rest of my life. Like it's just perfectly framed. The ball's right there. He doesn't realize it's hit him yet. Like if that could be
you're
me,
about to blast off.
Oh man. And then that's a story for the rest of your life. Like being that guy, that's a funny story. Mark Sanchez, like I know now it's a I'm the butt fumble guy, but like, yo, that was humiliating. That was
years
humiliating.
of therapy is how we got to here now.
It's pretty rough, dude. Yeah. And the outcome of that play is also, wasn't that also a touchdown? Like, the butt fumble is a miraculously bad play. And I feel like Trent Sherfield isn't even as to blame as Mark Sanchez was. So yeah, give me butt punt, dude. Butt punt. I think it'll pass a little quicker than the butt fumble has. Butt fumble
depends how far it got up there.
That's true.
All right, double butt punt or the double donk doink, as some would say.
Also, Mr. Scampers and you said probably very popular with wealthy businessmen, and I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I like.
But it applies to a lot. So,
paying an NFL punter to kick a football up their ass, is that what's popular with wealthy businessmen? I think
probably
maybe what Mr. Scampers was referring to.
And Dustin said Sherfield career earnings almost 5.3 mil. Coop, does that change your answer if you got to be one of these guys?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. 1,000%.
Okay.
So,
all right.
60 million versus 5 million, dude. Yeah, you can punt me in the face. Like I said, dude.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'll just line my head up on the tee and you can just take the kick straight in the nose for that amount of money.
All right, let's move on to our next prompt. All right, here's the next one. Would you rather sober sit for Aaron Rodgers every single time that he does ayahuasca for the rest of his natural life, or tutor Kyler Murray for once a week for 3 hours once a week for 3 years?
I got to hear that one again.
All right, would you rather sober sit for Aaron Rodgers every time he does ayahuasca for the rest of his natural life, or tutor Kyler Murray once a week for 3 hours for 3 years, over 3 years?
Now, oh man. Now, when I'm tutoring Kyler Murray, can I just blow it off and play Call of Duty with him?
That was going to be my first
There are
question
tests,
as
and
well.
if he doesn't pass, you're deep shit.
So I have to actually teach him stuff, which means I actually have to learn stuff because I don't really know anything, and he already knows more about football than me. What
But I
what
will
are we,
say,
what are we tutoring?
The material isn't super difficult. You're talking like middle school geometry.
Okay.
You're talking middle school history.
All
Pretty much
right.
anything you find at a middle school.
Okay.
So here's where I'm thinking. How disrespectful for me to sit down at a table with Kyler Murray and explain to him what an isosceles triangle is. Like how freaking rude of me to be like, hello, Kyler Murray, wildly successful NFL player who has more knowledge about the game that I love than probably 99% of the people in the world. Let's go over some vocab words for this week. Like that, just like I would not be able to sit there and not feel like such a condescending douchebag talking to him. And then the other one, you just have to hang out with a condescending douchebag the entire time. This is rough.
You gotta be sober and just sit there while he's not.
Yeah, dude. I mean, now this is the only time I spend with these guys. Like, I don't get to be friends with them outside of this interaction.
Nope.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
I'm not even sure.
Oh, for some reason, Coop, I completely forgot the game we were playing, and I thought you were just commenting on the relationship for the three of us, and you were like, actually, I don't even get to be friends with these guys outside of this. It's just
it does work.
Yeah. But that's also true. So Aaron Rodgers, I mean, dude, he's already a 38-year-old man doing drugs. It's only gonna get weirder for the rest of his life, right? How long? Kyler Murray's only 3 years.
3 years, yep.
I think that might be
once a week.
Once a week. But how do we have any idea how often Aaron Rodgers is doing ayahuasca, or is that's part of the wild card?
It's only 3 or 4 times a day, I think.
It can be at any moment,
3 or 4 times
any moment, any day, and you gotta go. Like, doesn't matter what you're doing. Coop, you're in the middle of your wedding ceremony. Aaron wants to get his little freak on.
I have to make my own arrangements to get there.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. Is like, can we just assume by whatever, like, no one even think about it? It's good. You're there when he needs you there. You're there. Don't worry about like
you have
having
to travel.
drive there or something.
No, there is travel, but he will pay for it.
Okay. Does he run a good schedule? Like, does he know ahead of time?
No, he is not.
He does not run a good schedule.
He runs it.
Here's telling you right now. That's it for me. I'm out. Give me the 3 years with Kyler Murray, dude. Because at least at the end of 3 years, I'm free, dude. You know what I mean? Like at least in 3 years, I'm good. Like
Aaron Rodgers, during the season, maybe he doesn't do much ayahuasca. There's a chance that you don't get called very often.
But the thing is, dude. The thing is, by 2020, I'm not good at that kind of math. 2025, I'm done with Kyler Murray tutor session forever. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, I could be like myself. I could be like 70 years old, and he's like 75. He's like 75, and he's like, I'm trying to do some drugs. I'm like, geez, right?
See,
make it stop.
Here's the piece you're missing though. Aaron Rodgers right now is very into ayahuasca, right? Like that's his thing that he's super into right now. So maybe it's a little bit heavier at the start, but I've got a feeling like, I don't know, he was eating clay. He's wearing undershirts. He's grown his hair out. Like he's just in a phase of life where something's going on. There's going to be something new that gathers his attention. And it's like what he's the next shiny thing, the next thing that makes him better than everybody else. And it's not going to be ayahuasca. So I'll take the couple of years and I'm going to mess with him the entire time. Like the entire time he's on there, I'm going to be the worst sober monitor for someone on ayahuasca ever for Aaron Rodgers.
Just be on your phone, just ignoring him.
I'm going to be on my phone and then say weird things like,
He's like, bro, I see the answers in the Jumbotron.
Aaron, you ever think about how skin is removable? And I'm just going to say things like that.
The worst, dude.
Oh my God. Yesterday during the NFL game, speaking of skin opening up, there's this awful commercial for some website called like Thumbtick or something where the thumb talks to you. Have you seen that one? And
No.
right along the crease, the thumb opens up into a skin mouth and speaks at you through the television. And it is absolutely disgusting. I'm just playing that on loop for Aaron Rodgers.
Were you doing ayahuasca yesterday? Because
Yeah,
that's not a thing. No, that didn't actually happen.
It was a very real commercial. I'm gonna
just
find
googled
it.
thumb tick. That's not a thing. The picture of a
Thumb
tick.
tick is not a thing.
The only thing that comes up are pictures. There's pictures of thumbs and pictures of ticks, but there's no picture. There's no thumb tick, dude.
Dustin said by tutor, you mean just be his wingman on Call of Duty. Nope, no video games. The parents take it out of the room, unfortunately.
I tried that.
Tried that. Kevin Tompkins says, hey, Kyler, for 3 hours, we'll be talking about the butt punt. He said, how far are we away from Rodgers turning into Hunter S. Thompson? Not too far. Not too far.
I looked it up. It's thumb tack.
He's already halfway.
Thumb tack.
He's already halfway to Johnny Depp.
He is. And Mr. Skinner said, all expenses paid trip to wherever once a year. Give me that. You don't know if it's once a year. It could be at any time. It could be as frequently as he takes ayahuasca. You don't know.
And you don't even know if he's like, he could be so weird down the road. Like he could just you could be in some crack den. You could go to some opium den in the the Himalayas.
In Dubuque, Iowa.
Yeah.
Dubuque, Iowa.
Nah,
yeah,
that's
all right,
Kyler.
All right, so Coop, you are taking of tutoring Kyler Murray. Simon, you're taking sober sitting Aaron Rodgers while he does ayahuasca at any moment.
It sounds
I think we have I think we have a very important clip to show right now that Keith found for us. Just to provide a little bit of something for you guys.
You done yet? It's 2 a.m. Why are you still scrolling through videos? You're not paying me overtime here.
Oh my
If you really want to see
God.
something new, why not change those shades that have been broken for the past 2 years?
The hole in that thumb
Let's
is
tap the
disgusting.
Thumbtack app, and in a matter of seconds, we'll find a pro to install new shades.
Okay.
With Thumbtack, you can
That
easily
is just
find top-rated professionals for every home project.
Vile. And Dustin saying, why didn't they put eyes on the thumb?
Yeah.
Why, Simon? Why that commercial is horrible and I'm only 10 seconds in? Kevin saying, the hell? See, I'm not crazy. That's terrible. Isn't
Right
it?
after the commercial, the thumb's like, kill me.
That was horrifying.
Susan.
That thumb was so distracting. I didn't even know what that commercial was for.
I have no idea.
I couldn't stop thinking about how horrifying
They got us
that
to
thumb
give them
was.
free advertising, but I don't know if it was worth it because I just still don't know what it is.
Thumbtack. Ah! I'm just kidding. That's all I know about it.
All right,
Joe, do we have
guys.
another hypothetical?
I got one last prompt for you. Ready? All right.
I'm ready.
You're in Roger Goodell's box suite, him and your significant other at the Bucks versus Packers game in week 3. The officials realize there's a massive beehive on the goalpost.
No.
He pulls out a gun and points it at your significant other and he says in a slow, measured voice, "Get rid of it." What do you do?
Roger Goodell has the gun?
Roger Goodell has the gun. He's pointing it right at your significant other.
God, man, I really loved Leanne. Like, I just... like, man, I was not trying to be single again at this point in my life, but like, man, sorry. It's pretty rough.
Need me to say it one more time?
Yeah, can you? Well,
all right, you're
let me
in
think
Roger
of a creative
Goodell's
solution. I need to find a loophole here.
You're in Roger Goodell's box. Him and your significant other. You're at the Bucks game, the Bucks versus Packers game this past week, week 3. The officials realize there's a massive beehive on the goalpost. He pulls out a gun and points it at your significant other and says in a slow, measured voice, "Get rid of it." What do you do?
I tell her, I say, hey, do what he says. do what the man says. But, sounds like pretty cut and dry here. Who's handling this? I mean, I don't got a gun
He
pointed at me.
interjects and says, "No, I'm talking about you."
I mean, you've really thrown me for a loop for this one, Joe, because you have struck on like one of my biggest fears. All this skin talk, what it really comes down to is that puncture point. Needles, bees, wounds, they all feel that same fear for me. And bees fall in like that skin opening fear because of the way they sting. Like, it freaks me out and I hate them so much. Like, everything about them, I just hate. One time, I was on a hiking trip, right, in North Carolina, and we decide immediately, we see a waterfall, and we're like, oh, instead of staying on the trail, let's like climb up this waterfall. Let's keep climbing up and see how high we can get. We spent like 45 minutes like climbing on rocks and jumping up here. And all of a sudden, the one guy in front of me starts screaming. He goes, bees! The 45 minutes it took me to get up there, I sprinted down a waterfall. I was at the bottom in like 65 seconds. No one else was even close to me. I still got stung. But we get down there and like I should have died on the way down. My buddy comes walking down the hill and he's like, I'm gonna go sit down for a second. And all of a sudden we see him just full on vomit and collapse on the pavement. And we're in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. Turns out he'd never been stung by a bee. He got stung by 15 and he was allergic. So we had to load him into a car, drive him to a hospital that we had to find because we had no GPS, no map, wildly unprepared high schoolers. It was a traumatic experience, and now bees.
How do you find a hotel? How do you find a hospital?
You stop at the general store.
Where's the hospital?
Only thing around, and run in and say, "Where's the hospital?" That's exactly what you do.
Dying.
So, I think even if I try to go get those bees jail, here's the most likely scenario. I say, okay, like, I would do anything for Leanne. Like I'll go take care of these bees, but I go down on the field and it just turns into the most humiliating experience in which they have to still bring someone else in to get rid of the bees. Like I'm going to go down there and I'm going to try my best. And it's going to turn into me just screaming and running away like a little girl, agitating the bees further, making it more of a mess in the end zone. And then they bring in a professional beekeeper.
I mean, dude, I used to paint houses, man. Like every time you take a shutter off a house, you're playing a game of are there bees behind it? And almost every time the answer is yes, right? So I've been stung by enough bees, dude. I would just go down and take care of those bees like an adult, man.
How would you do it?
What do you mean?
How are you getting rid of those bees?
I mean, how did they get rid of them? I mean, I don't know. I guess I would take my shirt off and grab the beehive with that, and then just like I don't know, dip.
Try and contain them in your shirt.
I would try and contain them with shirt. I would. Here's what I would do. I would take my shirt off. I would wrap the beehive in the shirt, and then I would run and find the nearest like fry later and just fry those puppies up. And then I would take the honeycomb and I'd bite it and I would go, "Let her go, Roger."
And Roger would put his gun away.
Roger put his gun away.
You earned respect today, son.
And then I'd probably find out that I'm allergic to bees.
I think you can get the gun from Roger Goodell. He doesn't look yoked. He doesn't look ripped, and I don't think his reaction time is going to be that good.
I take my shirt off and I'm like, I'm gonna go get these bees with this shirt, and then I just like almost like
get his head. You wrap
shirt
his
attack,
head
yeah.
Well, Jail, I think I'm risking Leanne's life if I try to go get rid of the bees, like because I don't think I'm succeeding, and it sounds like he's saying like take care of it or else. Like I might just take my chances 1v1 against Roger Goodell in this situation. Like let's see if I can get that gun before he can do anything about it.
How are you gonna get it from him?
I'm gonna play the like sexy seductive role instead of like
seduce the gun away from him.
Yeah, I'm gonna seduce the gun away from Roger Goodell. I'm gonna be like, okay, like Roger, you're right. Before I go down there, they're like, I wanted to get a picture with you before, or I wanted to get a picture with you today at this game, but now I'm probably gonna get stung by a lot of bees. Like, could we do it right now instead of after? He's gonna say, yeah. I'm going to go in, hand her out his waist. It's going to slide down a little bit to the butt. I'm going to see how he reacts, like as I reach that top. And then he's not even going to realize it. He's going to be a little distracted. And then, bam, gun is mine. Sorry, Roger. No butt touches for you.
No butt touches.
I would definitely rather get stung by a bunch of bees than touch Roger Goodell's butt.
Probably farts on your hand.
You've actually somehow found a way to make this worse for everyone. You've made it worse for everyone.
All right. Well done, fellas. That was a great game.
We had some questions in the chat while we were playing that game, all related to butt punts, oddly enough. But Brendan came in here with a super chat and a question. He said, any advice on improving this team? I'm 2-1 in a 12-team PPR league, but got extremely lucky each time, posting it under because of the character limit. He's got at quarterback Kyler Murray, wide receiver Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton, Woods, I'm guessing Robert Woods, Jacoby Myers, and Michael Gallup. At running back, Nick Chubb, Breece Hall, ETN, McKissick, and Henderson. Then at tight end, Ertz and Knott.
That's a solid team. It's a solid team, and I can tell why you might be concerned because I see a lot of guys who you probably drafted higher and who haven't quite lived up to those expectations yet. In terms of improving, I think the most obvious choice is the tight end. Your tight end position, Ertz and Knox. Knox has not been what he was last year. Ertz has been injured or dealing with injury. I would probably try and. This might be a situation where I would maybe I'd try and flip Kyler Murray for either a tight end that is like that middle tier. I'm trying to think of a name that I could who's the middle, who's like a not top tier tight end, but right below
Darren Waller.
Yeah, I don't think you could get the job done on that one, but maybe Kyler with something for Darren Waller.
Like I don't know, Goddard, but like even then,
Daryl Henderson.
The problem with Ertz is that Ertz could be in trouble when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. Yeah. So and Knox, dude. I mean, like if Knox isn't going to do anything this week when they hang 43 points, first 2 weeks he blocked on. This week at least he only blocked on 2 pass plays, right? So the usage was slightly better. He ran 39 of 48 routes, but still not super involved. And that's with Gabe Davis still kind of banged up. Like Gabe Davis didn't even play the whole game, so it's pretty scary right now for Dawson Knox. I think you could actually. I would look to even if you don't make a trade, I would drop Dawson Knox and just go for somebody with higher upside, even if they have a lower floor.
Like a Logan Thomas, is that someone that you
like a Logan Thomas, Evan Engram? I'm not giving up on anybody that is like playing a ton of snaps, running a full route. Running a like. Remember we talked about Logan Thomas, how he used to play 100% of the snaps. Guess what? This week he played 100% of the snaps. He's back playing every snap, dude, and he runs virtually every route. So Logan Thomas has a higher upside than those guys if he's out there. Juwan Johnson, yeah, like you said, Juwan Johnson, another one. Just shoot for guys that actually are playing like wide receiver and slot. Dawson Knox is just me.
I would maybe try and trade Chubb or maybe Cortland Sutton, but I think Chubb is the one that maybe stands out to me. If you can maybe divest from Chubb, get like a running back who is serviceable. It's PPR, so. Who's serviceable is a downgrade from Chubb, but then we'll give you that, maybe you can throw a tight end in there as well.
Man, I just feel like to get one of those top tier tight ends, like a real upgraded tight end that's going to be worth it, like Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, maybe. We're hoping that usage continues. Travis Kelce, like it's going to be hard. Like it's going to be hard to get that done. And then I'm not sure I like the upside of that next tier. Like unless it's Waller in that next tier, I'm more in line with Coop. And God, like this is a tough team to improve in my eyes, right? Because it's kind of like some of those depth pieces don't have a ton of value to trade away. And I'm having trouble wanting to move some of your starters. Like I don't want to move on from Kupp. You're likely not going to get the value back for a Cooper Kupp that makes it worth it. Chubb as well. Like Joe, I know you said like maybe it's time to sell high on Chubb. I'm good. Like if you're not getting good value back for Nick Chubb, improving at 2 other positions, then I'm good just rolling with Chubb. He's going to keep on getting that work all season long. It's that tight end where you need to improve for sure, in my mind. But it's a tough spot. It is a tough spot. I'd be curious if you had more on the bench to work with. We had another question in here from Eric. Before we hit that one, though, we had a question from Tommy that I think is very important. JL, Tommy wants to know, how do you scare a bee? Boo, bee.
That's a good question.
I just told you the answer. It's a joke. Tommy set me up for the punchline.
I'm going to think about that and get back to you, Tommy.
Booby. The answer is booby, JL. That's how you scare a bee. Eric, booby. How many times are you going to make me say booby on the air this morning? Eric in here said, I know Dubs won the waiver wire bracket. Would you drop any of these players for him? Russell Gage, Isaiah McKenzie, or Chase Claypool? JL, are any of those players you'd be willing to drop for Romeo Dubs?
Probably not. Russell Gage, I think, would be the closest I'd be okay to dropping once Mike Evans and Godwin come back. I don't think Gage will be as useful, but Dubs is. I think it's probably less likely that Dubs becomes the guy there than some of these guys.
I don't know. I do like Russell Gage. I mean, Chase Claypool's game kind of boring. You know what I mean? It's
so yesterday.
So lame, dude. It was cool when he got 6 carries at one time, but now he's just kind of getting, he gets his targets, catches a couple. Like he hasn't had more than 35 yards in the game receiving yet. I think Dubs is more.
Go ahead, finish that.
I just think Dubs is more exciting.
Yeah, and like I would definitely drop Claypool for Dubs at this point. Russell Gage, Isaiah McKenzie, like they've got more standalone value. There's a world where they could plug into your starting lineup on given weeks. I'm probably not doing that with Claypool, but to your point, Coop, like Dubs probably has a higher ceiling than all of these players right here, right? Like if it does play out where he's the number one wide receiver in Green Bay, his ceiling's a bit higher. Coop was not happy with that take. He said, I'm out of here on that point. But like
I'm keeping Claypool. I'm not giving up on Claypool. It feels like a mistake to drop Claypool based off his production. I think it has more to do with Mitchell Trubisky and his inability to throw. If you go back and watch the first 3 weeks, the guy is just not accurate. He's not making the throws. And so if they switch to Kenny Pickett and Claypool pops off and you dropped him week 3 or week 4 for Gage, or I guess you already had
Dubs.
Gage, but Dubs. Yeah. In this situation, I don't know. It's tricky, but I'm out of the 3 guys, Claypool is the one I'm keeping. He's the one to me with the most standalone value. Isaiah McKenzie, I think, is going to be boom or bust week to week. It's just going to depend on when and if they target him that week. Russell Gage, like I said, I think that's more of a temporary thing.
And Mr. Gamer said, why did everyone go back to mispronouncing Dub's name? Because it's all about
what's the right way to say it?
I think it's Daubs or Dubes. I don't know now. I've heard it so many different ways. I think I knew the right way at one point, but now everyone just does it a little differently. That I keep going with Dubs because it's like the W. He's a winner.
I'll look it up.
We'll look it up. We'll look into that one for you guys. Coop.
Dobbs.
Yep.
Why is that you in there? What's that you doing in there?
Though Keith coming in letting us know that Romeo himself said he liked the way Dubs sounded. Like that's not right, but I like the way it sounds. I'm cool with that.
Dude likes to party. Confirmed.
That's why you didn't correct anyone. If people started calling me, I wish people would just start mispronouncing my last name in a cool way instead of there's not really a cool way to mispronounce my last name. It's just I get that one all the time.
Also, I have to throw a retraction out there. I was looking at the wrong game for Logan Thomas. He did not play 100% of the snaps this week. He only played, but he's creeping up. He's creeping back up. He played 50 snaps this week, which is a lot of snaps for a guy coming off a torn ACL. So he's working his way back, but not quite there yet.
Absolutely. Guys, coming up, we've got D.O. Ledbetter of the Atlanta Falcons joining the show with us to talk a little bit about what we've seen from the Falcons so far this season and what we can expect going forward. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
We got to get a team in Honolulu. Like, what about that, Ray? You think Oakland? Like, nobody's talking about Honolulu for the Oakland A's to move to. How badass would that be to have a Major League Baseball team? Instead, they want to go to like where it's 120 degrees in the desert of Vegas.
Right.
Ray, they should pick up and go to Honolulu. That would be epic right there for the A's.
They could go to Honolulu and instead of playing 12 games against the teams throughout the course of the year, you just play a 12-game set. Just get it done.
What's the flight from the Bay Area? 4 hours?
It's depending which direction you're going, it's 5.5.
Okay, that's not terrible. You'd have to manage the schedule a bit.
Right.
But it's doable. Like, you play your West Coast games and then maybe you give an extra day. Like you play in San Francisco through Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then you have your Monday off. Everybody gets their Monday off and then they play, out in Hawaii for 4 games. And they come back for the weekend.
It's very similar time-wise for us in California, in the Bay Area, to go to Hawaii as it is to go to New York. It's very similar. So yeah, like you're saying, Giants do that to go to the Mets. The A's do that to go to the Yankees. They do it, so it would be very similar.
They would be they've already got the baseball background. I mean, they're dominant. The island loves their baseball. And Ray, you could even rebrand the team from the Oakland A's to the Oakland Lays. You can do the Lays, Ray. Look at that.
Good. That's actually, there's no way that would ever happen, but that's pretty good, Kyle. On the fly.
I'm giving away like free marketing right here.
Good work.
Right on the show.
The plan is for them to stay here, but the fans hate them. I don't know if the city likes them. They can't. I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't know. The plan
There's a lot of land in Hawaii. Just think about the views, Ray, of the Pacific. It would put your crap ballpark in San Francisco to shame. Like, everybody thinks that's a good view.
Right.
They'd have like waterfalls and real palm trees in the Pacific Ocean.
People
they
twirling
would make,
fire in the seventh
they
inning
would make
stretch.
the Giants Park look like, the vet in Philly. It would look that awful if they moved to Hawaii.
And then you go to your flip flops or shorts. They serve Mai Tais. They give lays away. Or, the first 5,000 fans, whatever.
Well, everybody in the chat room loves it. Every time I get a compliment, I don't bring it up on the show.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't want to be that guy.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network.
What's up? Welcome back in, everybody, and good morning. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We are about to be joined by a return guest, one of our favorites. We've got D.O. Ledbetter joining us. He's an Atlanta Falcons beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and he's here to give us some of that inside scoop on the Atlanta Falcons after that exciting victory over the Seattle Seahawks this past weekend. Pulled that game out 27-23, and I feel like we got some good stuff to talk about with these Falcons. I got some questions and some, not just some questions, but Dio, thank you so much for joining the show today, my man.
Yo.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So good to see you again, my friend.
Likewise. Good, great to be on the Front Yard Fantasy Show today.
I just wanted to, before any questions, I just wanted to thank you because you saved me from drafting a lot of Tyler Algier towards the end there, from starting him, from thinking that he would be the guy. And you gave me that confidence to just keep rolling with Cordero Patterson. And you were right, man. They just keep on rolling with him. And the dude keeps looking like a great running back, a great offensive weapon for this team.
Yeah, no question about it. The first game was kind of, a stunner. He'd never been over 100 yards, never over 20 carries. But Damon Williams got hurt, and they had to put it on his plate, and did it again in the game yesterday or game Sunday against Seattle. So the question was it sustainable? And they answered it in week 3 in Seattle.
17 carries, 141 yards, and a touchdown. It's just so fun seeing him do it on the ground. Like, it's not like we saw him do it last year. We're seeing Cordero Patterson be fantasy relevant, be a top 10 guy on the ground, just without the receiving game.
Without the receiving, yeah. It's like people were talking about, him lining up a wide receiver. This week, he only lined up out wide or in the slot 5 times, 30 snaps in the backfield. Like, he's a full-on RB, and he's an RB1 in fantasy football. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll, he's going up. We got an old running back matchup this week with him and Chubb. Chubb's number 1. I don't know if Saquon caught up. I don't know what his numbers were last night, but Saquon and you've been Cordero going against each other, and one of the off-Broadway games next week. But
Falcons,
a lot of running. A lot of yards.
Just like everyone predicted, if a couple years ago you told me the top running backs would be Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, and Cordero Patterson, I would have said you're 1/3 crazy at least there. Right? But hey, I'm sorry. So as a big tight end guy, I gotta ask you. I gotta pivot here to Kyle Pitts. I need to hear something that will maybe. I mean, we need to hear the truth is what we need to hear, but there's a lot of people out there holding out for him to potentially, play more, wide receiver, do a little less inline blocking, but Arthur Smith seems committed to having him play as a true tight end a little more than he did last year. And, as his comments suggest, he doesn't care about fantasy football one bit. So, what are your thoughts on Pitts moving forward? Whether you think it's possible for him to, of course, it's possible for him to have monster games, but do you think it's still possible for him to have a season everyone was hoping he might have?
Yeah, I looked at it. That was our big story on Sunday. And, last year was a slow burn. He didn't get going to the 5th game last year, the Jets game in London, and he comes back with the big Miami game. Then he has another 100-yard game later in the season. So it was a steady dose of 60, 80, 60, 80, some 40 in there. Then 3 big games. So he's on pace for that. 4 targets is ridiculous. It was the second game.
Right.
He's got to get 8 to 10. And I don't want to hear this. We're blocking and we're doing this. No, you didn't draft him 4th overall to block. Get him to block.
Right.
Stop it, coach. So we went off on him last week, and then he comes out and throws a bomb to him on the first play of the game. The kid's supposed to get 8 to 10. He's picked 4th overall, and you didn't pick him 4th overall to be a blocking tight end. You could find a blocking tight end on the street. So, do what you got to do, move him around. I don't think he wanted to show too much of his hands early on, in case they somehow manage to be around and be relevant later on in the season, then they can move him around and dust all that good stuff off that, I anticipate them doing as the season progresses.
Do you think the coaching staff there, like, what do you think is going on in their minds? Like, why, it seems obvious to us, use Kyle Pitts. He's incredibly talented, right? He's an incredible player. And you don't have many weapons in that offense. Like, what is the coaching staff thinking in how they're using Kyle Pitts?
They're thinking that they don't want to put too much on his plate. They want to, develop some of these other guys and so forth. And then, they're serious about the blocking thing. But I don't understand, why you would not use your best weapon. They're certainly doing it with Patterson. And I mean, this offense is built around Patterson and Pitts, P and P. So, I expect a full dose of that, the rest of the way here. And then, Drake London has been a surprise. Brian Edwards was a surprise in activation this week. So, it's pretty clear that, they're going to build this offense around Pitts and London and Patterson. And then everybody else will be, kind of, picking up the pieces and the scraps of here along the way.
Man, I just love Kyle Pitts and Drake London are like these young superstar players, and then Cordero Patterson. Like, it just highlights it even more whenever we're talking about like what Coop said earlier, like CPAT, Pitts, and London, the 3 things that are all exactly the same and very similar in every way. It's been awesome what we've seen from Drake London so far. Like, I didn't expect him to come in and maybe command this much of a target share this early into his rookie season, but it's what he's doing. The Falcons immediately seems like they trust him and they want him to be their lead receiver. So I'm excited for the second half of this year, second 3 quarters of this year for Drake London.
Yeah, and I didn't know he had the run after catch ability. The touchdown he had against Seattle, he fought his way into the end zone. He really took off. Some balls, Marcus Mariota's accuracy has been, that was one of his issues earlier in Tennessee. So these guys are, hauling in these balls and, and making some good yak with them too. So that's one part of his game that we did not know about. We knew about the jump balls and the running tough along the sidelines and so forth. But, his ability in the open field, I think, is going to add some value to his fantasy owners.
Absolutely. Marcus Mariota so far through 3 games has looked all right? Like, he's had decent games. He's thrown some bad picks. Hasn't been like a world beater, but he's done well enough for this Falcons team. Are you hearing any rumblings, or do you think there's a chance that we see Desmond Ridder at some point this season, or is Marcus Mariota the starter for the foreseeable future?
I think we're going to see Marcus's history is that he's going to get hurt somewhere along the way. He's never finished a full season, never played 16 games. So at that point, we'll see Ridder. The plan is to stick with Mariota and develop Ridder. They like the way Kansas City did Mahomes. Didn't play him at all, developed him, taught him, and when he was ready to play, he had a grasp of the system and went out there and was able to function. When they knew that he was ready to go, they got rid of Alex Smith in the offseason. So that's what they're trying to do. But they know that, hey, the kid is one play away. And, if that happens, he's got to go in there. They want him ready to play. We're not seeing that in practice. The little bit we get to see now, and he looks a little down, like he's, still working through being the scout team quarterback. He's not used to that.
Yeah.
And so it's a little difficult here early on. They've been spot playing all the rest of the rookies. So I'm thinking, the question is, hey, do you have a package where you can spot play them? Troy Anderson's playing in a gimmicky 4-3 over that they got with 3 inside linebackers. They found Arnold Ibikite some time. They found the time for all the draft picks, but Desmond Ridder, who was the one player on the 53-man roster that did not play against Seattle.
It's tough when it's 26, 27, 27, 31. You're not finding a lot of garbage, because you typically, if you have some garbage time, whether you're up big or down big, you can mix them in. I mean, with these games, dude, these games have all been close. The Falcons games, you can call them what you want, but you can't call them boring, right? Like, these games are all going to 50-point over-unders, and I don't think they've lost. I know they're 1-2, but none of the games have been decided by more than a couple points, right? Like, these are fun games.
No, second mark, and they're throwing into the end zone to upset the Rams there late in that game. So they stormed back from the 28-3. That's a big number here in Atlanta.
That's right. A big number here in New England too, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So they did do that. So you had to give them credit. But that started out like the Rams were, they scored on 4 of the first 5 possessions and sound a little bit like they took their foot off the pedal, and the Falcons did what they did to get back in it. But but still, you don't draft, you don't get rid of Matt Ryan and not develop the young quarterback. So I mean, we got 15 games left for him to get some action. We'll see how it goes.
God, it's so weird seeing Matt Ryan in a Colts uniform. Like growing up in it, it's just weird seeing Matt Ryan in a Colts uniform, not in that Falcons uniform anymore.
Yeah, it is. It is. I was able to watch a little bit in the Seattle press box there, and him leading them for the score against the Chiefs, and then Stephon Gilmore getting the tip and the pick there. So yeah, I was like, hey, I've seen this Matty Ice comeback thing before, and they really needed it in Indy, after the slow start.
Slow start. That's the nicest way to say shutout 24-0 against Jacksonville last week that you could have said it.
Slow start. I'm loving that shirt, by the way, Dio.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the wife's got one of those cricket things, and I think I got this for Christmas here.
Love it.
Wear around the house. I don't go out in public with my lighting.
we all have those articles of clothing that is just for house only.
My fiance's got one of those crickets now. Everything's labeled. Everything in the house got. Yeah. Those things are pretty wild though, dude. You can do a lot with those. That's cool.
Yeah, she digs it. Yeah, she's a t-shirt guru.
Love it.
I just Googled that. I'd never heard it. I was like, what the hell kind of cricket are we talking about here? Like, that sounds like a for real cricket. It's a device. I'm gonna have to get one of those. That looks pretty cool.
So we got a question from Tim in the chat. He said, any whispers on Ridley's suspension being alleviated? You think he has the whole suspension?
Yeah, no, their window to appeal passed, so there's no appeal. We're expecting the full application of his suspension. The gambling lane's a whole nother lane as opposed to the player conduct lane. That's where a lot of people are can't separate with the Watson suspension. They're like, well, he only got this and Ridley's got a year, but they're in 2 different lanes. The gambling lane, they're a little bit hardcore over there than they are on the player conduct lane.
They're very careful about the integrity of the game, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But they are. You're right. I think they're making an example out of.
You can comment on that suspension without validating the length of the other one, right? Like, you talk about them separately. They're separate conversations.
Right, and no doubt. And the gambling rules have been long established, and I think I got a story out there going all the way back to the championship games that they tried to throw in the 40s and 50s, all the way up through Art Schlichter and Alex Karras and all the gambling
Art Schlichter,
all the gambling stories.
That dude Art Schleister was a nightmare. Anybody out there look that guy up, dude. It was with him. It wasn't just gambling, right? Like that guy was.
Nah, he was
off
at the feds following him around.
Yeah, that guy was. that guy was a criminal, bro. Like
great criminal.
Yeah, one of the best.
Outside of, I mean, we're talking Ridley a little bit here, but I know whenever the suspension came in, all the stories were saying that he wanted out of Atlanta or that Atlanta wanted away from him after this suspension was served. Do you think there's a chance he stays in Atlanta, like that he comes back from the suspension and continues to play in Atlanta, or is he gone?
He is so gone.
He starts laughing before you even finish the question.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell are you even saying, man?
No. I mean, it's a bundle though. It's a bundle. I mean, he was gone before the gambling. They had traded him to the Eagles, but they found out about the gambling. They had to pull it back. And the Eagles, go on and make the AJ Brown trade. Yeah. The crux of the matter was, hey, they weren't too happy with him, with him taking a leave for his mental health last year. They publicly supported him, but that was his sign of saying he wasn't, on board anymore. It happened. I was just looking at the file the other day. Before they go to London, he pulls out. And then later on, the day of the Carolina game, he calls the coach. And so at that point, that's a breach of trust. But then you got to publicly support them because we haven't really seen these mental health, issues extend for more than a couple games. We saw Everson Griffith, get some help and, come back. And, not trying to diminish, whatever he was going through. But, yeah, there were murmurs that, he didn't like the new regime. He didn't like the in-cutting routes. He was sliding around, backing up, and they wanted big, physical, tough receivers here. So, the football-wise, it wasn't a great marriage. And then it got a little messy. The divorce will be a little bit more messier now. And what they can get back for him is probably going to be diminished.
Yeah, I mean, and you said they want big physical receivers. Well, they got one now in Drake London. Like, nice job, mission accomplished. That's a big physical receiver right there.
Yeah, no doubt. He's been, everything as advertised. Folks wanted to say they didn't take the top receiver. It was Jameson or Garrett Wilson. But so far, the Drake London pick's looking pretty good for the Atlanta Falcons.
Absolutely. Dio, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk some Falcons with us today. Before you go, what's going to happen this weekend? What's score prediction? Falcons, Browns. Who's taking home the cake? How much are the Falcons winning by?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Browns are going to win this one. I'm thinking, Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett, if he's okay, they don't have an answer for him. But the Browns look real solid to me. But the Falcons are surprising. They're in the games. The Mariota experiment is working out thus far. They're moving the ball. But, I mean, they gave up 420 yards to Seattle last week. So, they still got a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball. But, yeah, so let's go. I'm waffling here. I'll go with the Falcons 31-28. Another over 50 high scoring affair. And then there you go. That's how we'll go this week.
Oh man, I would love to see that one. They got the line set at 49.5, so you're not too far off with that score prediction right there, Dio. Dio, thank you so much for coming on with us today. Everybody watching, make sure you go check out Dio Ledbetter on Twitter. He's a D Orlando AJC. You can find him right there. Check out all of his awesome work he's doing over there at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Dio, looking forward to next time, my man, and go Falcons.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure coming on the Front Yard Fantasy Show.
Pleasure having you. Appreciate you, brother.
Cheers, brother. Good.
Pleasure having you, my man.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, bro.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Insights, dude. It's just like,
dude, so smart.
Nice to hear that. I didn't even know that Ridley almost got traded to the Eagles. I don't know how I missed that. I had no idea.
Can you imagine if we're looking at this, like AJ Brown now, it just makes sense on the Eagles, right? Like we have AJ Brown on the Eagles. It was that close. A Calvin Ridley suspension away from it being Calvin Ridley in that role instead of AJ Brown. Right. And I'm curious what that would have looked like. Like they would have changed the landscape at wide receiver for the entire NFL right there. It would have been pretty weird. We're going to answer some of your questions that I saw in the chat come in here and talk a little bit more news. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
Eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like, what was it, like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's
well, first
the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
steak
excellent,
sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You're
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that.
No, Alfredo, that's what he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. You know, I didn't realize they were famous for waffles. Hey, look.
You know, the name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We were just talking to D.O. Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Falcons beat writer, but now we're going to take some of your questions that came in during that time. I see Jay in here asking, I need to start 2 PPR. Najee Harris, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, and James Robinson. JL, which 2 of those players are you starting? We've got Najee Harris, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, and James Robinson in a full PPR league between those 5 players.
All right. You got to start Harris, Najee Harris. He's an every week start. Then I'm between Cortland Sutton and James Robinson. I'm going to go James Robinson.
James Robinson for that second one. Coop, what about you?
Yeah, no, you can't go away from James Robinson right now the way he's playing. What's the matchup?
Over Higgins, over T. Higgins for both of you guys?
Oh, I didn't write down Higgins.
Yeah, Najee, Sutton, Higgins, Deontay,
Higgins,
and James
Deontay,
Robinson.
That's crazy, dude. You got to. This is one of those teams.
What a team!
Man. 2-for-1 trade. Go do it right now because you can't. You're gonna have 2 of these guys on your bench, bro. Make that swap. Just start sending crazy offers like 2-for-1s for like Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp. Like the Justin Jefferson owner might be down to take a 2-for-1 right now.
I think this is the same person offer. This is the same team earlier that asked, is Najee plus Higgins too much to give up for Jefferson?
Now that trade makes sense. Now in this context, no, it's not. Right? Like, because then you just start Justin Jefferson and J-Rob.
I'd still start and Jason and I've been trying exactly that. I'd still start with Najee straight up, then Najee Deontay, then Najee Sutton, and then Najee Higgins.
I still think it's an overpay, even if I'm okay with consolidating. I wouldn't go and like overpay like that. I just don't think it's necessary. I think you can get it for cheaper.
We had another question in here from Bronson. Bronson wanted to know, trade Burrow, Sutton, and Pitts for Chase and Tua, or Chase and Aaron Jones, or don't do the trade at all. So Burrow, Sutton, and Pitts. It's a lot to send away, but for Jamar Chase and Tua Tagovailoa, or Jamar Chase and Aaron Jones. Coop, would you be doing this trade?
Well, this is kind of interesting one because it's impossible for me to answer that question without knowing who your quarterback would be if you do the trade for Chase and Aaron Jones, because that's implying that you have another quarterback that you would.
Let's
start.
assume Trevor Lawrence. You're able to pick up Trevor Lawrence off the waiver wire.
Well, then I would do Chase and Aaron Jones and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Or let's knock it down to pick Jared Goff or Marcus Mariota are the guys you're looking at on the waiver wire now.
Now it's a little dicey. Also, this trade implies I see that Scamper says his QB is Burrow, but Burrow is in the trade. So if he does the Burrow, Sutton, Pitts trade for Chase and Tua, now Tua is his quarterback. If he trades Burrow, Sutton, and Pitts for Chase and Aaron Jones, then who's his quarterback? Sorry, Scamp. You're not dumb. I love you.
Scamper says I'm dumb.
Yeah,
no, you're not.
Yeah, the other thing is this also implies that you have another tight end that you like, right? These trades, that's why giving us as much context as possible is going to make our lives easier.
League has 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex, if that helps. 2 QB is okay. That changes it because I was about to bring up a 1 QB point to this.
Given that information, I would not do the trade, and I would just want to have as many. You need to start 2 RBs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex each week. So you need 6 guys. I want to have as many good players as possible.
So you're keeping the Burrow, Sutton, Pitts side because it comes with another good player.
It comes with Pitt. Like you could have Pitts in the flex too. You know what I mean? Like Pitts. I think he's coming on now.
Yeah.
His other tight end is Darren Waller, and is Higbee on the bench.
Okay, so with Darren Waller, every time you provide context, it changes a little bit right here, right? It goes snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. Because if you've got Waller on the bench, then yeah, that makes Pitts less important for your team. Man, Burrow versus Tua, straight up. Who do you want rest of season, Coop?
I think I'm fairly even.
Fairly even. Jail, Burrow or Tua rest of the season?
That's a wash.
Yeah, I mean it's so close for me. I think I would lean Burrow.
I think I'd lean Tua, but again, it's one of those trades that's so close that I'm probably not making that move, whichever side I'm on. Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm probably staying put even with having Waller behind you. I think I'll stay put with Burrow, Sutton, Pitts. I'm with you, Coop. Jail, what about you?
Yeah, I would maybe do the Chase and 201, but I would almost want. I don't know if you'd be able to do this. You can get like another piece back. Get like one more piece back with that one. I feel like I would make that trade, but it is.
What
close.
are you looking at? Like someone in that lower tier, like Jacoby Myers or something like that, or an Alan Lazard. I think he's a little bit higher up, but maybe after just one good game, you could still sneak him in there or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
You're looking at.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great. I really just mean anything of like somewhat significant value because it is very close. I think Chase is probably worth Sutton and Pitts since you have Waller, and just how good Chase is and that upside that he has. Tua and Burrow are close enough; doesn't really matter. So I'm fine making this trade.
So I feel like this is a rare trade where we're seeing I feel like usually when we see trades like this that involve Burrow or Chase, it's about like consolidating those players. Like people are trying to get Burrow if they have Chase, or if they have Burrow, they're trying to get Chase, like trying to build that stack. I feel like we don't see very often. We're like, yeah, I'll trade you this team's quarterback for this team's wide receiver. It seems like maybe in draft you weren't looking at it, but it starts playing in whenever you start looking at the trades. Do you guys take that into consideration whenever you're trying to come up with a trade? Do you try to stack?
If you can, less than season long.
Yes, just like with drafts, it's a tiebreaker. That's it for me. Like if it's a completely even trade.
Yeah, I'm not adding value to that side of the trade just to get the stack.
And it looks like Tommy is on the Higgins and Sutton side of this one as well. Also, I saw Mr. Scampers in here with one more, or maybe that was for who they would start.
That was the other one.
Previous question. That's my bad. Mr. Scampers in here coming in saying, in Scott Fishbowl 12, our friend Dame Overboard is number 19 19 through 3 weeks. Shout out Dame and absolutely killing it over there. I think better than all of us. I'm not number 19. I haven't checked, but I just know based on the results so far that I am not number 19.
That's amazing. I love that. Dame.
Joe, you're 20, right? You're just one spot behind her.
No, I'm 0-3.
Ooh, I'm 1-2. I got one victory in that league, but the leagues that hurt the most that I don't have a win in yet. Oh, Coop just casually 2-1.
Lamar Jackson's 2-1. I've lost a game with Lamar Jackson, which makes me bad at this, honestly.
Tim is 3-0 with Lamar Jackson right there. Guys, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in this morning to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. We will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to come hang out with us then. Until tomorrow, though, we're out of here. Adios, everyone.